Zionism.
When you hear a lot of the, rhetoric, though, that is spewed, a lot of people calling, for the death of Jews at some of these protests and saying that they're pro-Hamas. What do you think about those messages mixed into the crowds at some of these campus protests?
The people who are saying that are not for the cause. They're not for the same cause that we are. No one here calls for the death of Jews. No one here is anti-Semitic. We are pro-Palestinian, and those two things can be aren't mutually exclusive in the same way.
New York City police, the mayor, and the Columbia president have said protesters are being led in part by outside agitators. Pro-Israel protesters tried to get into a pro-Palestinian encampment on the UCLA campus, where an hours-long fight was eventually broken up by police last night, and then classes were canceled today.
They also closed the library as well as one of the major buildings here, worried about a takeover, if you will. But, UCLA has 4 weeks of classes left. Fox's William Lajeunesse at UCLA, where an encampment remains. The White House supporting peaceful protests.
Americans have the right to peacefully protest within the law. Within the law.
Spokeswoman Karine Jean-Pierre says forcibly occupying buildings is not peaceful. Former President Trump holding 2 rallies on a day off from his first criminal trial.
When I'm in the White House, the Biden economic bust will quickly be replaced with the Trump economic boom. We're going to replace it. We'll replace it quickly.
He's in Wisconsin now, Michigan later. America is listening to Fox News.
93 WIBC Mobile News. On the level, on the go.
Shots on the interstates. Partly cloudy, 79 degrees in downtown Indianapolis. You've got a clear radar. Low of 62 expected tonight. I'm Harrison Silcox. Here's what's trending at 3:02. Someone shot and killed on I-65 at 1 this afternoon near Southport. State police say the driver's car went off the highway and into a pond.
There was about 20 or 30 state troopers. I've never seen more state troopers on one scene before. They're all looking down in the ditch because you can't see anything.
That man is stuck in traffic while state police are investigating. Dive teams are at the scene. Officers believe the shooting was a result of road rage. No word on a suspect yet. Beech Grove police responded to a custody dispute this morning.
They arrived and encountered an adult male. He made statements that he was here to retrieve his kid, his child. The officers were going to have to shoot him.
Deputy Police Chief Tom Hurley says a fight followed and one of the officers was cut in the face. The man was then shot and killed. 3 officers are on administrative leave. State police will handle the investigation. The latest Indianapolis homicide report shows a 15% drop from this time last year. Indy Metro Police want to keep those numbers down.
Yeah, as the weather warms up, we want to remind people and the citizens of Indianapolis to step away from tense situations, practice de-escalation and conflict resolution skills. Violence is not the answer.
Officer Amanda Hibschman, 25 cases have been cleared while the 45 are still unsolved. The White House is asking the DOJ to start the process of changing marijuana from a Schedule 1 to Schedule 3 drug, putting it on the same level as Tylenol with codeine or cough syrup. This would help the argument for medical marijuana in Indiana, says State Senator Greg Taylor.
There's also studies out there about the effects for people with PTSD. We've talked about different strategies associated with medical use for schizophrenia.
Talking to Wish TV, U.S. Attorney General Merrick Garland has the final say once the DEA approves the change. Tickets for the 500 are selling faster than last year, says IMS President Doug Bowles.
Reserve seat ticket sales, there is an outside chance that we sell out of reserve seat tickets, so I'm just encouraging people, if you want a reserve seat, you might want to get one now. Otherwise, you're going to have to share the infield with those 100,000 people who enjoy the infield, which is not a bad experience.
He says there's still plenty of infield general admission tickets available if you want to grab those. You're 1 minute away from traffic and weather. It's 3:04.
Sinus pressure, congestion, snoring, being unable to sleep, being unable to breathe. Yep, it's another sinus infection. You've Googled, watched videos, tried over-the-counter sprays, medications, and home remedies, but nothing ever works. There must be some kind of treatment that can help, right? Indianapolis Sinus Center understands how draining it can be when you try treatment after treatment without any relief. That's why they've been serving and treating the community for over 50 years. Indianapolis Sinus Center has performed thousands of procedures and helped thousands of patients find lasting relief they didn't know was possible. Patients like you. If you've had enough of sinus pain, pressure, and congestion, schedule a visit with Indianapolis Sinus Center today. Call 317-528-9650 and take the first step toward breathing easy. 317-528-9650. That's 317-528-9650 or visit IndianapolisSinusCenter.com.
With traffic on the 5s at 3:05, here's Matt Baer.
All right, Harrison, we still have a really bad delay going through Greenwood. It's northbound 65 stop traffic right now after Worsville Road all the way up to Stop 11 Road. I would definitely consider US 31 as an alternate right now, maybe a reroute, 20 minutes to navigate that. Looking at the south side crash, eastbound to 465 between 31 and I-65. That's the right lane blocked and traffic stopped. Back to Bluff Road, our delay time there is showing just 8 minutes here at the moment. Traffic sponsored by Direct Auto. Safe Auto Insurance is now Direct Auto Insurance. New name, same low down payments. Go to directauto.com for a free quote. I'm Matt Baer. Follow us for instant traffic updates at WIBC Traffic.
And the forecast from the American Standard Cooling Weather Center.
Partly cloudy skies heading into the afternoon today. It's going to be a warm one with highs near 81, 58, and partly cloudy later tonight. I'm Wish TV Storm Track 8 meteorologist Tara Hastings for 93 WIBC.
I'm Harrison Silcox on the level on the go and on WIBC.com.
Hammer and Nigel.
Can you believe these characters are weirdos?
So let's rock it! It's the Hammer and Nigel show. I'm Jason Hammer. Guy Relford, the gun guy, filling in for Big Nige today. And Guy, last night around 9:30, I'm sitting right there on my couch. Got some snacks, got some drinks, getting ready to watch the Pacers game. But then my phone starts blowing up a little bit. Everybody's texting me, are you watching this? Are you checking this out? Turn it on to the news. And I turned it over to Fox, and I noticed that the NYPD, they were storming into the Hamilton Hall on the campus of Columbia University and cleaning that thing out, throwing out the agitators, taking it back. And little did I know that was going to be way more enjoyable than that Pacers game last night, Guy.
Well, after the first quarter, anyway, that's exactly right. Yeah, my wife and I actually rolled we have a portable TV that we rolled into the bedroom where we were getting ready to watch the Pacer game. And so we had both going on at the same time. And my attention quickly turned mainly to the protests and NYPD's response. It was a long time coming. It seems like they staged and prepared, and hey, that's not something you want to do lightly, and that's not something you want to do without a definitive plan and defined rules of engagement. But once they finally went in there, and they cleaned out the riffraff.
And it didn't take that long.
No, it really didn't.
Within 2 hours, they had it clear. They had people on that little shuttle bus they were taking back to arrest them. Now, whether or not charges actually get filed is a separate discussion, but it went quick. And I had a couple different emotions watching that because on one hand, I'm happy that it happened, right? I'm happy that Columbia's president finally said, all right, NYPD, help us out. We're tired of all this happening, even though it should have been done a long time ago. We're tired of all this. Clean out Hamilton Hall, get rid of the encampments, and stay on campus for a little bit so our Jewish students feel safe. Love that. But at the same time, I started thinking back to the Summer of Love, 2020, and it's just frustrating because you see how police could really take care of business if they're allowed to do their jobs.
Well, exactly right. A couple different issues is one, when and allowed to do their jobs is a perfect way to phrase it. Because how many rank and file IMPD officers have we talked to who were frustrated about the riots in Indianapolis and who were frustrated they weren't allowed to do their jobs and were basically commanded to step back and watch windows being broken left and right, watch buildings be set on fire, watch people being assaulted on the streets to a very large degree. So that was one issue. The other thing, though, about the Columbia protests that I'm just fascinated, and you brought it up, is what's going to happen to these people right now. I'll guarantee you, if you and I were upset, about the coffee prices at the place down here on the Circle now, that replaced Starbucks, who refused to do business in Indy anymore under this administration, by the way. But let's just say we're upset about coffee prices. So we go in there and it's closed at night. We break the windows. We take the place over. We're going to stand for truth and justice, and we're protesting high coffee prices, and we refuse to leave. We damage the place. We vandalize the place. We hang banners everywhere. What do you suppose would happen to us, Jason? I mean, exactly how many years do you think we'd spend in prison?
Right.
It'd be a bunch. We wouldn't get, just thrown out or charged with trespassing. It'd been burglary. It'd be felony charges. It'd be willful destruction of property, which we call malicious mischief in Indiana. I mean, what happens to these kids if they get suspended for a semester and that's it? That's just going to send a message to the next round of protesters. They can do this and get away with it.
Right. Now, we know that not all of those people involved in this are even students.
Well,
right?
Exactly right.
Some of these are what we call professional protesters, and that's what Donald Trump was talking about. He called in to Sean Hannity's show last night during the NYPD takeover of Hamilton Hall, and he talked about some of these, quote, professionals.
Well, I really think you have a lot of paid agitators, professional agitators in here, too, and I see it all over. And, when you see signs and they're all identical, that means they're being paid by a source. These aren't hand-painted signs where people would go to their basement and paint something because they really believed it. These are all signs that are identical. They're made by the same printer. And, when you see that, that means there's somebody at top that's paying or a group that's paying.
That was Donald Trump calling into Hannity's show last night. And this was about a 10-minute conversation. And I noticed that we've got Donald Trump calling in on his own on the phone to Fox News. Where's Joe Biden?
Yeah.
Where was the president of the United States? Was he asleep? I mean, that's probably a safe bet that he had no idea that any of this was going on. And Donald Trump also brought up the fact that Joe Biden should be the one that's siding and supporting Israel, but that's not happening.
When there's an attack, a sneak attack like on October 7th, that's so violent and such hatred, you have to clean it out. You have to clean out the cancer, and you have to let them do their job. And frankly, it has to be done fast because this is not sustainable for anybody. The job has to be done. It has to be done fast. The United States has to get courage, and the United States has to speak up. Nobody knows where the U.S. stands right now. I think Biden is not on the side of Israel, and he's making a tremendous mistake. You have to clean up the terror that we witnessed on October 7th.
And, Guy, if Joe Biden's approval ratings could get any lower, they are about to. Now, listen to this. This isn't confirmed, but CBS News is reporting that Joe Biden is considering bringing Palestinian refugees from Gaza into the United States. He's looking, according to this report, to use the United States Refugee Admissions Program to bring in Palestinians with U.S. ties who may have escaped into Egypt. Those who pass the eligibility requirements would then fly into the United States with refugee status. They'd receive housing assistance, a path towards citizenship. That would be another round of refugees coming into the country.
And what could go wrong? I mean, really, what could possibly go wrong? We're talking about Palestinian refugees. Think about that population of people and how incredibly easy it could be for someone who wants to do us harm to blend in with that population of people. And I don't know how well these people are going to be vetted, and I can't claim any expertise in that area, but I got to believe that'd be an incredibly easy pathway for people to get into this country who hate the U.S. Are these the exact same people that are chanting death to the USA?
From the river to the sea,
from the river
genocide
to the sea,
chants.
The eradication of Israel and death to the USA, are these the same people? And those are the people that we're going to put on airplanes and fly into the United States? But now, what? Because Biden wants votes? That's what we're talking about.
Because he's trying to win Michigan, the key
right.
battleground state of Michigan, which is pretty big, Palestinian group of voters.
Oh, large.
Right there. This is kind of where Rashida Tlaib kind of gets a lot of her mojo from. But I'm telling you right now, let's just say that this does happen. I have no idea if it will or not, but just play along with me here. If indeed we start flying over these refugees that chant death to America, news outlets all over this country are going to tell you that it's just kids playing soccer. Because I've seen this movie before. You hear that, Camp Atterbury? Get ready. You better lock up the stores. You better get those license plates on secure. You better have some shovels to clean up all the poop because refugees coming and putting them in big areas and camps doesn't go over real well. And the media will tell you it's just kids playing soccer. It's women who want to live the American dream. But there's other stuff that goes on too. And as much crap as people like Channel 13 gave me when I pointed that out, I was proven correct when the government had to pay Camp Atterbury for all of the damages created by the last round of refugees.
Yeah, and by the way, it's been at least 8-10 times I've gotten calls from WTHR wanting to do interviews on gun-related issues, legislative-related issues, and I've said every single time, has Jason Hammer gotten his apology yet?
Nope.
And they never know what the hell, the reporter never knows what the hell I'm talking about. And I go, just ask that question up the chain and get back to me. And they come back and they go, well, no, we haven't done that yet. I'm like, okay.
Ask old 2 L's, Bob Siegel. We call him 2 L's, not because that's how his name's spelled, but that's how many L's he took in that story. Was wrong originally and then refused to give me an apology. That's why he's 2 L's. Real quick, Kylan, hit me with some booze news.
You set him up and I'll knock him back, Lloyd. 1 by 1.
We are gonna read booze news, cause it's really fun.
Once it hits your lips, it's so good.
Nigel presents
Booze News, Booze News. Yeah. Time for Booze News.
A new poll found that our favorite adult beverages to consume when we're flying are vodka drinks, followed by whiskey, wine, and then mimosas. So, Guy Relford, when you get on a bird and you're flying somewhere and you feel like a beverage or two, what are you getting?
Depends on the time of day. Earlier in the day, hey, screwdrivers or mimosas. Mimosas, I've never been a huge fan. But screwdrivers or Bloody Marys in the morning. So that way, you can just order the vodka, mix it with whatever you want to, which is always fun.
Solid.
Afternoon, I'm a beer guy. It depends. If I'm going on vacation, I'm all right. I'm getting in the vacation mood. Evening, if they got a decent bourbon, I like a bourbon in the evening. So I'm a time of day driven selector on that issue.
This poll broke it down by individual states. And for Indiana, specifically for Indiana, mimosas were the number one answer of the go-to drink of choice when people are traveling or going on vacation or a trip. So, based on this poll of favorite adult beverages, Indiana's being the mimosa. Joe Hogsett, AI. Joe Hogsett, your thoughts?
I'll drink to that.
I'm sure that you would. Matt Bear standing by with a look at the roads.
All right, in Greenwood, we are looking at northbound 65, and we are still jammed up from Main Street, exit 99, up to stop 11 Road. That's just shy of Southport Road. That's because of an earlier crash involving a road rage shooting, and Harrison's going to tell you about that coming up more at 3:30. But right now, northbound 65 jammed up Main to Southport Road. Indiana State Police on scene investigated. The right 2 lanes are blocked for a 21-minute delay. Also on the south side crash, eastbound 465 shy of I-65. It blocks the right lane, causing stop traffic back to Harding Street 37. Crash on the east side. It's on the entrance ramp from Shadeland Avenue 2, eastbound 70, an overturned semi-trailer. The ramp is open. It's partially blocked. Traffic sponsored by the Indianapolis Men's Clinic. Guys, solve your ED today with an intimacy guarantee only at the Indianapolis Men's Clinic. If you don't perform, you don't pay. Call the Indianapolis Men's Clinic at 999-9000. That's 999-9000. I'm Matt Bear. Follow us for instant traffic updates at WIBC Traffic.
Man, it's a beautiful day for all types of things. I'm looking out the window here at Monument Circle. I see a group of what appears to be religious folks walking around, and we've also got a passed-out bum on the steps of the monument. Whatever turns you on, the weather is perfect for it. 80 and sun right now at the American Standard Cooling Weather Center. When we come back, we've got B delays in Major League Baseball, but we got to talk about the Pacers last night. What was that? We'll talk about that next.
We would listen to the race on the radio.
My brother and I would always end up in the back of a station wagon. We'd get to listen to the race, looking out back.
Can't watch the race on TV, it would be blacked out.
The magic of May.
We would listen to the race on the radio.
The traditions.
The race could be heard throughout the entire house.
The guys in the IMS radio network are the absolute best.
The memories.
We would go camping sometimes and listen to the race on the radio.
For more than 70 years, your home of the Indianapolis 500. 93 WIPC.
I'm a moderate Republican.
That's Jefferson Shreve. Listen to Shreve again as he tries to gain favor with the corporate press and leftist voters.
I'm a moderate Republican.
As the far left wages a culture war, Jefferson Shreve has already surrendered. The NRA gives Shreve an F for his anti-gun policies. Shreve is pro-choice, speaking out against Indiana's pro-life laws. Shreve won't even vote for the GOP nominee, President Donald J. Trump, telling the Indy Star, quote, "If Trump becomes the Republican presidential nominee, he would not have Shreve's vote."
I'm a moderate Republican.
We don't need another moderate who will fight against conservatives and President Trump. We need a conservative champion. Mike Speedy is the only candidate who is both endorsed by Indiana Right to Life and is A+ rated by the NRA. Mike Speedy also endorses President Trump and will help him deport illegals. Paid for by Mike Speedy for Congress.
I'm Mike Speedy. I'm running for Congress, and I approve this message.
Show Mom just how much you love and respect her with fresh flowers from Gillespie Florists. Mom will smile for all to see when she receives your beautiful and fragrant bouquet from Gillespie Florists. Hundreds of styles to choose from, or let the mom pleasers at Gillespie help you decide. Easily make this Mother's Day memorable. Click on GillespieFlorist.com right now to place your order. Visit Gillespie Florist at 10th and Raceway, online at GillespieFlorist.com, or call 273-1100. Gillespie Florists, for all the flowers in your life.
Life insurance. Why are you putting it off? Can't afford it? Too much hassle? Think you don't need it? There's lots of excuses for putting off life insurance. But if you weren't there, who would pay the mortgage and other bills? With Ethos, you could be covered in 10 minutes and boom, family protected. Ethos, fast and easy online term life insurance. Up to $2 million in coverage with no medical exam. Some policies as low as $1 a day. Answer a few health questions and get your free quote at getethos.com. That's getethos.com.
Building a better future for Hoosiers is going to take an outsider. Brad Chambers is the only candidate for governor who's not a career politician. And only Brad Chambers built a national business from nothing. As Secretary of Commerce, Brad Chambers broke records for job growth all across the state. Jobs with wages higher than ever before. Because of Brad Chambers, higher wages are on the way. And only Brad Chambers can keep them coming.
Paid for by Chambers for Indiana.
Chapters of this story take a whole month to tell. This is May. It starts with twists and turns on the IMS road course for the Sancio Grand Prix. Then PPG presents Armed Forces Indy 500 qualifying in the fight for the pole position. May continues with Indy's biggest party, Miller Lite Carb Day. And all roads lead to the 108th running of the Indianapolis 500 presented by Gainbridge. May is yours. May is ours. This is May. Buy now and save. Get tickets at IMS.com.
Congressman Thomas Massey understands the D.C. swamp better than anyone in the Republican Party. He said that Congress goes along to get along.
This is John Jacob. As state representative, I saw how the Republican establishment operates. I stood against him because I represented we the people, not we the party. I say it's always right to do right, and it's always wrong to do wrong. The go along to get along mentality is destroying our nation. I'm a strict constitutional conservative. I don't support going along to get along. I'm the only candidate endorsed by Congressman Thomas Massey, who was himself endorsed by Senator Rand Paul. If you send me to D.C., I will lock arms with Massey and other like-minded patriots to drag us back to the right.
John Jacob is the real deal, the only candidate endorsed by Congressman Thomas Massey. Vote John Jacob for Congress, District 6 on May 7th. Learn more at voteforjohnjacob.com. That's vote, the number 4, johnjacob.com.
I'm John Jacob, and I approve this ad. Paid for by John Jacob for Congress.
This hour on WIBC, powered by Sundown Gardens, Hamilton County's spring nursery headquarters.
You're listening to the Hammer and Nigel Show.
115-92. That was the score last night. Milwaukee, without their two best players, beat the Pacers in a game that the Pacers were looking to eliminate Milwaukee. And now the series comes back to Indianapolis. Game 6 is tomorrow, 6:30 p.m. It's a gold out at the stadium. But, Guy, they laid an egg last night.
You know, in an elimination game like that, and this team, you know, hasn't been to the playoffs in a long time. Most of these players have never played in the playoffs, not for the Pacers anyway. And to go out there and underperform like that. I mean, you just look at the box score. I was looking at this earlier today. Great, they're up 8 after the first quarter, and you're like, all right, they showed up, man. They're there. They're hitting some outside shots. It's all looking good. And then they were outscored 30-17 in the second quarter, and then outscored 34-19 in the third quarter. And then, of course, it's over.
Right.
And just watching that effort, and then you and I were talking off air. One of the interviews is, oh, well, they just really played harder. This is an interview of a Pacer player. What the hell is that? What do you mean they played harder? Why?
It was an elimination game where you could have cut the head off the beast here because they didn't have Giannis. They didn't have Dame, and you let him off the hook.
You let him off the hook. Exactly. To paraphrase Denny Green, right? Which I still think should have made Meltdown Madness. I'm still upset about that. But yeah, absolutely, they let him off the hook. And listen, I like this team most of the time. They're young, they're athletic, they most of the time play with energy. With Halliburton, and I also don't think people realize how much we're missing Mathurin too off the bench.
Mathurin, yeah.
Mathurin, I'm sorry, I always mispronounce that. Usually I thought he was going to be sixth man of the year there for a while before he got hurt. And so Mathurin off the bench, we miss a lot. But most of the time I love this team. But man, when they just don't appear to put the effort in a playoff game, I mean,
that hurts.
Okay, we'll go to another Meltdown Madness. Come on, man.
Right. After the game, Pacers head coach Rick Carlisle, he was addressing his team after they were blown out by a Milwaukee team that didn't have their 2 stars. Here's what the coach said in the locker room.
You just got your asses whipped by a bunch of damn nerds. Nerds!
That's Rick Carlisle after the game, shockingly.
Yeah.
So while that was going on with the Pacers, something bizarre was happening in Major League Baseball. We had a B delay at a game in Arizona. So the Dodgers were playing the Diamondbacks. Game was at Arizona. A big, massive swarm of bees formed at the top of the net behind home plate. And it was so big, they had to get everybody off the field, call in a special beekeeper to remove it. Take a listen. This is the announcers talking about the situation.
Yes, we are in a bee delay, a bee colony that has established a foothold high atop the backstop behind home plate, and thus we remain in a bee delay prior to game 2 of the series here between the Arizona Diamondbacks and the Los Angeles Dodgers. And the bees began swarming, and obviously that's an issue. Blue Sky Pest Control is on their way.
And this wasn't like a few bees that may form like a small little like type of hive. No, this was a big, massive thing. But the cool thing was this boss of a pest control guy goes up there, takes them, gets them all removed. Crowds cheering for this guy. They let him throw out the ceremonial first pitch.
That's the coolest thing ever. And you know what? And by the way, I was seeing some footage of this, and my first thought, again, I'm showing my age. I don't know how many people will remember this. My first thought is, we need Randy Johnson and about a bag of baseballs. And there's some seagulls out there that will testify,
right,
that you don't want Randy Johnson out there be flying, and while you're flying around home plate anywhere. And I'm thinking, Randy Johnson, we could have saved that beekeeper a trip. You give him about a dozen baseballs, and we'll put an end to this stuff.
Right. Now, he might tick off the bees by throwing a heater at them, but he would definitely connect.
You remember that video, don't you?
Oh, that bird disintegrated.
It just exploded. It's like nothing I've ever seen. And Randy Johnson, here's this big 6'8", humongous dude, mean looking, and he was clearly distraught. I mean, he was upset
right,
blowing up this bird. It was one of the greatest sports highlights of my life.
Do yourself a favor and find that video on YouTube.
Oh, yeah.
Again, Randy Johnson, one of the hardest throwers in the history of baseball, delivering a heater, and a bird comes right in front of the pitch, and it just explodes.
It just exploded.
It's the Hammer and Nigel Show.
You've seen Chuck Goodrich's ads. It's time to take the mask off and meet the real Chuck. Get rich. Goodrich allied himself with never-Trumpers and liberals who spent millions to defeat President Trump. And it turns out that Chuck Goodrich lobbied to give amnesty to millions of illegal immigrants. Goodrich even bragged about his award as a top 100 woke CEO who hires employees based on race. In the legislature, Goodrich voted to bring critical race theory into our classrooms and to teach our children that America is a racist country. What did crooked Chuck get in return for siding with the liberals? Millions of earmarks. And a law that could put $40 million of our tax dollars into his business. Chuck Goodrich is just another corrupt and liberal sellout. He can't be trusted.
I am Victoria Sparks, candidate for Congress, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Victoria Sparks for Congress.
Denny Smith here for Miss M's Home and Garden in Bargersville and Sundown Gardens in Westfield. May has arrived and Mother's Day is approaching. Spring flowers are on full display. You just have to see the selection. Miss M's Home and Garden and Sundown Gardens are fully stocked with great annuals, trees, shrubs, decor, and more. Get an early jump on Mother's Day. Sundown Gardens at 186th Street and Spring Mill Road in Westfield, sundown.gardens.com. Miss M's Home and Garden on State Road 135 in Bargersville, MissM'sHomeandGarden.com.
Guys, let's talk game. Practice just wrapped up with the annual spring game. Your team looks promising this fall, but how's your game? Testosterone therapy can help you get back to your best, and spring is the time to start. We recommend Low T Center.
They make it quick and easy. Walk in, take a simple blood test, and get your results back in about 25 minutes. If you feel tired, if you've seen weight gain, loss of muscle mass, could be Low T. And LowTCenter.com is the place where you book your appointment. Low T Center, reinventing men's healthcare.
93 WIBC Mobile News. On the level, on the go.
A fatal shooting on 65. 80 degrees and cloudy in downtown Indianapolis. Nothing on your radar. Low temps drop to the lower 60s tonight. I'm Harrison Silcox. Here's what's trending at 3:32. State police are investigating a road rage shooting on northbound 65 just south of the Southport exit.
It's going to be a mess for a while. They've got traffic just getting by the left one or two lanes. But if you were in this backup, just wait, because you're going to be here a minute.
That's John, who's one of several people stuck in traffic. Matt Barrell will have more on that in a few minutes. Dive teams are at the scene because after the driver was shot, their car went off the road and into a pond. Beech Grove police were called to the Willow Glen South Apartments this morning where an argument had started with a man who showed up 12 hours early to pick up his kid. That same man pulled a knife on police officers.
The officers attempted to take him into custody by the use of non-lethal measures. That was not successful. One of our officers was cut with a knife.
Beech Grove Deputy Chief Tom Hurley says that's when police shot and killed the man. All three officers involved are on administrative leave while state police investigates. There are still 45 unsolved homicides in Indianapolis. So says IMPD's monthly homicide reports, and police say they could use your help.
They can call the homicide office. They can call Crime Stoppers anonymously at 262-TIPS.
IMPD officer Amanda Hibschman. The report shows a 15% drop in criminal homicides in the first 4 months of this year compared to last. There was an active shooter reported outside of a Wisconsin middle school west of Madison earlier today, but the threat has been handled, according to the Mount Horeb Area School District. They say the suspect never got into the building and there were no injuries. Negotiations happening again between Israel and Hamas for a ceasefire.
Hamas should just not continue to get in the way of much-needed relief for the people of Gaza. They need to move forward and move forward with this deal.
White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre. The White House says they would use the ceasefire as a time to get some help to civilians in Gaza. And the Fed is leaving interest rates alone after saying they want to be more confident inflation is coming down before they cut those rates. Their goal is 2%. You're 1 minute away from traffic and weather. It's 3:34.
She isn't working for us, so who is Victoria Spartz working for in Congress? Victoria Spartz said she'd fight the radical left, but spoke in defense of the squad's Ilhan Omar and refused to officially condemn Rashida Tlaib after her hateful, anti-Semitic statements. While there's an invasion on our southern border, Spartz votes to send $40 billion of our tax dollars to Ukraine. Victoria Spartz also says she stands with President Trump. Truth is, Spartz stated it's irrelevant who the president is and helps the Biden administration pass their agenda. Chuck Goodrich is an America First conservative. Chuck built a business that hires and builds American, and Chuck voted to end sanctuary cities. Chuck puts our national defense first by banning any Chinese presence near our military and National Guard bases. Chuck Goodrich fights for our values, voting to protect female sports and keep biological males from competing competing against young women in Indiana. Vote Chuck Goodrich for Congress. Paid for by Go With Chuck Goodrich.
I'm Chuck Goodrich, a candidate for Congress, and I approve this message.
The traffic at 335. What's going on, Matt Bear?
Harrison, you were just reporting on this road rage shooting in Greenwood, or near Greenwood. Right now, northbound 65 is still jammed up. Stop traffic from Worthsville Road up to Stop 11 Road. That's just shy of Southport. And right now, at the top of that delay, 2 right lanes are blocked. Delay time is 42 minutes. If you want to make your way through that, I would rather use US 31 at the moment. Eastbound 465, a crash shy of I-65. It blocks the right lane. Stops traffic past Harding Street, State Road 37, 20-minute wait list there. And a rolled semi on the entrance ramp from Shadeland Avenue to eastbound 70. That ramp is open. It is partially blocked. Traffic sponsored by Drexel Interiors. Go where the pros go. Drexel Interiors for Timberlake Kitchen and Bath Cabinets. Visit Drexel's Design Centers at 146th Street and River Road, or on North at Shadeland, online at drexelin.com. I'm Matt Bear. Follow us for instant traffic updates at WIBC Traffic.
And the forecast from the American Standard Cooling Weather Center.
Partly cloudy skies heading into the afternoon today. It's going to be a warm one with highs near 81, 58, and partly cloudy later tonight. I'm Wish TV Storm Track 8 meteorologist Tara Hastings for 93 WIBC.
I'm Harrison Silcox. On the level, on the go, and on WIBC.com.
You're listening to the Hammer and Nigel Show.
So Indiana, one of 5 states suing the United States Department of Education, is in Title IX. It's the Hammer and Nigel Show. I'm Jason Hammer. Guy Relford in for Big Nige. So yesterday, we heard from Florida's governor, Ron DeSantis. He's behind one of the states, obviously, that has a problem with the changes that Joe Biden's administration has made to women in sports, Title IX. If you missed it, this was Ron DeSantis yesterday.
We are working with the Attorney General. We have filed a lawsuit to fight back against what Biden's trying to do with Title IX, to take away protection. The bottom line is this. Injecting men into women's bathrooms and locker rooms is not good for women. Injecting boys into girls' sports is not good for girls. And so this is bad policy, but it's also not constitutional. That is not what the law says. They are twisting the law to try to impose an ideological agenda on the rest of the country. And I've said very clearly in Florida, we do not consent to that, and we will not comply with it, and we will fight back against it. So you can take that to the bank.
So Joe Biden wants biological men to be able to go into women's locker rooms as long as they identify as a woman. As long as they say, I am a woman, you can go in there, look around, do God knows what, and then you can compete. You can use male DNA against female athletes. And I think we've seen at a high school level, at least in a lot of places around the country, how that's been going.
Well, exactly. And you know what? The lawyer in me has to come out of here a little bit too, which is all the headlines about this development all talk about the Department of Education, Biden's Department of Education rewriting Title IX. And as a lawyer, I read that and I say, well, hold on. Title IX is a law passed by Congress. Congress has to rewrite Title IX. The Department of Education cannot do that. Joe Biden's administration cannot do that. Congress has to do that. And that's exactly what the Constitution says in terms of where the legislative power leads, or where it comes from and where it exists. And so when Ron DeSantis says it's unconstitutional on that basis alone, I think that's exactly right. But even secondly, let's say they had the power to do this. Why on earth would you take a law that's designed to prevent discrimination and use it to, in fact, discriminate against the population of truly female athletes who are trying to compete fairly within their sports, and discriminate against them to say, no, I'm sorry, fair competition in your sport just disappeared because you now have to compete with biological males? That is the worst form of discrimination against women that I can imagine in sports.
And Indiana is now one of those states that is suing the United States Department of Education. This was a statement that the Attorney General, Todd Rokita, put out. Quote, our office, along with 5 other states, are suing the U.S. Department of Education to protect the rights of our Hoosier women and girls. Biden's radical rewrite, easy for me to say, of Title IX is anti-women and exactly the kind of discrimination this law was originally intended to remedy.
Well, exactly. And, you know, it is putting into place an interpretation of Title IX that in and of itself is blatant discrimination. And it's offensive on that basis. My kids are older now, but I've got grandkids, and the idea of my granddaughters having to compete with biological males in the sports of their choosing just puts me through the roof. I mean, that's just absolutely indefensible in my mind.
Isn't it wild that if you think about it, you know, the women's movement and the civil rights movement kind of being washed away by everything we're seeing right now. Now you see men competing against women, and instead of, you know, African Americans not being allowed to go to certain places and drink out of fountains, substitute that for Jewish students on college campuses. It's the same thing.
It really is. And, you know, it makes me think about some of the activists. I mean, let's stick with the issue of women. You know, where's today's Gloria Steinem? I don't know if Gloria Steinem's still kicking or not. Remember National Organization for Women and how vocal they were in fighting for women's rights all those years? And good for them. I'm glad they did. And they won a lot of hard-fought battles that have made this country a better place to live in. Where are the women's activists on the issue of males competing in women's sports? It's like you can't be woke, right, and defend women on this issue. And that's so offensive to me. If you really want to fight for women's rights, why wouldn't you join Riley Gaines, who's a complete hero in my mind?
Friend of our show.
Friend of your show. And I love hearing her on your show, and I love watching her podcast. She is a true American hero. If you really care about women's rights in general or women's rights in sports specifically, why on earth aren't you as vocal as you can possibly be, shoulder to shoulder with Riley Gaines? Where are those people? Where are those women's activists today? You know, it's easy for me to say as a biological male, but that kind of sounds like, you know, all the woke people out there wanting to tell you what's racist. Here, I'd love to see more women involved in this fight right there with Riley Gaines.
Guy Relford filling in for Big Nige here on the Hammer and Nigel show. One of our favorites is Louisiana Senator John Kennedy.
Oh, yeah.
Not necessarily for his voting record or laws that he's passing, but he's a soundbite machine. Like if you have a radio talk show, you can always count on John Kennedy from Louisiana giving you something, and he's done it again. So here he is in this Senate hearing with HUD, the Housing Urban Development folks. And Adrienne Todman was the woman that was on the receiving end of some good old-fashioned grassroots smart-ass isms from Louisiana Senator John Kennedy.
Home builders to build by adding $31,000 to their costs, and you're going to encourage people to buy by adding $31,000 to the price tag? Have your people at HUD been living in outer space? Haven't they seen what's been going on in America with inflation and home prices?
There's 2 costs to home ownership. One is buying the house and operating.
I'm going to allow one last exchange. We're into the second minute overtime.
And what we know is that, and you refer to the increasing cost of utilities, that with this energy code regulation, we are going to reduce utility costs for low and moderate income families across the country.
Do you believe in the tooth fairy?
I dispute the home builders.
Do you believe in the Easter Bunny?
Senator Kennedy, I'll allow you the last word. And then
do you believe that Jimmy Hoffa died of a natural death?
Do you believe in the Tooth Fairy? Do you believe in the Easter Bunny? Do you believe Jimmy Hoffa died of a natural death?
That's beautiful.
Which brings us to great moments in Senator Kennedy history. I think this clip speaks for itself.
And I don't mind disagreements in policy. I think that's great. I love the dialectic. But the comments were personal. You call Senator Sanders everything but an ignorant slut.
It's not every day you get a sitting United States senator at a hearing that uses the phrase ignorant slut. Great moments in Senator Kennedy history. Here he is talking about Joe Biden's approval rating.
The American people may be poorer under President Biden, but they're not stupid. President Biden's approval rating ranks right up there with jock itch.
And last but certainly not least, I think this is Nigel's favorite, Big Nigel's favorite when he's here. This is Senator Kennedy, bringing it full circle with us, the difference between men and women.
It's very easy to tell a boy from a girl. A boy has a penis, a girl has a vagina.
Vagina! Great moments in Senator Kennedy history. Dateline Florida guy, 20-year-old man in Florida, was arrested after beating his sister with fried chicken during an argument. According to the police report, one piece of fried chicken hit her in the back of the head. Doesn't sound like she was hurt, but it did leave, quote, debris of food on her shoulders. So my question to you, as a guy that has seen and done a lot of crazy things in his life, you have protected Elvis Presley, you have fought with people in Baltimore when the Colts moved, you've been like the muscle of security places. Have you ever thrown food at somebody?
Oh, God, yes. Oh, man.
You been in a food fight?
Oh, man, my fraternity house, absolutely. The rule was you wanted to start a food fight, you had to stay in and clean, because we were self-staffed, other than the cook. Oh yeah, man, we're talking right out of Animal House. Food
Did you get
fights.
up like Bluto and just yell, food fight?
Oh, yeah, well, Animal House came out while I was in college.
Oh, wow.
And so we emulated that movie in every way we possibly could, including the food fights. Yeah, and if you were willing to clean up, man, we had some epic food fights. The only problem is I always want to make sure I was through with my meal before I declared a food fight.
Right.
Because you can lose out on a lot of consumables if you declare a food fight too early.
Kylan, who's filling in for Allison. Kylan, you ever been in a food fight? Has anybody ever thrown food at you?
I think we threw eggs one time for Easter instead of eating them. I think
That's
that'd
it?
probably be about it, though.
Nobody's ever chucked a piece of fried chicken or something at you?
Definitely not leaving the crispy fried part on my shoulder. No, none of
All right.
that.
So if you have ever been in a food fight or had food thrown at you, or maybe you have thrown it at someone, we need your stories at Hammer and Nigel, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Have you ever thrown food or been on the receiving end of food thrown at you? At Hammer and Nigel. Right now, we'll take caller number 9 for Grand Prix tickets. 239-9393, the Sancio IndyCar Grand Prix, May 11th at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway on the road course. Great way to kick off the month of May. Caller number 9 gets to play the game. 239-9393.
Bill Frazier is a Hoosier, an American, who has served our citizens with distinction, determination, and a wisdom that comes with years of experience. Now, Bill Frazier is ready to dedicate his life to serving you as your next congressman in Indiana's 6th District. Bill Frazier is a true conservative. He'll fight for a secure border, smaller government, and lower taxes. He will be a tireless advocate for the Second Amendment and the rights of the unborn. Bill Frazier is a veteran paratrooper, a successful farmer and business owner, a licensed commercial jet pilot, a man with experience. When President Ronald Reagan needed expert advice on agricultural issues, he called on a young Hoosier farmer, Bill Frazier. Ronald Reagan trusted Bill Frazier. You can too. Vote for experience and determination. Vote for the true conservative Hoosier. Vote for Bill Frazier for Congress.
I'm Bill Frazier, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Friends of Bill Frazier.
Yeah, I only use American Standard dealers. I only use American Standard equipment when it comes to my air conditioning and furnace. The last thing I want to be worried about this spring and summer is my air conditioning going out. And there are tons of great local American Standard service dealers here in Central Indy. Hammer is going to tell you about one of them.
How about Family Heating and Air, the Morris family and their staff ready to help you out this spring and summer? You could call Rachel, Marcus, or Malia today and make sure that AC unit is ready for the hot summer air. Family Heating and Air Conditioning always encourages you to call them for a free second opinion if you've got a quote from somebody else. If that quote doesn't seem right, call Family. Nobody cares for you like Family. 317-577-8077. Family Heating and Air. Tell them Hammer and Nigel sent you. American Standard Heating and Air is built to a higher standard.
Hey, we all know about Jay's Lobster and Fish Market right there in the Garage Food Hall in the Bottle Works District downtown, right? If you don't, you are missing out. New England-style seafood shacks bringing you the taste of the East Coast. You have to try their hot honey fried lobster roll. It's so good.
And how about Palavana Cubano, Indy's newest and tastiest Cuban sandwich restaurant, also in the Garage Food Hall in the Bottle Works. I love the Cuban Reuben. Palavana Cubano. Tell them Hammer and Nigel sent you.
As our loved ones age, ensuring their safety at home becomes a top priority. This is Tina McIntosh, president of Joyce House and co-host of the Caregiver Crossing radio program. I'll be right back with some practical things you can do to reduce the possibility of a fall or injury.
At Cardon Senior Living Communities, you'll find our teams share a commitment to enhancing the lifestyle and well-being of the people we serve every day at every stage of life.
Removing tripping hazards such as rugs and floor clutter is one way to prevent or minimize falls around the home. Another is to position grab bars in the restroom and other common areas where your loved one may need some extra support. Contact your local area agency on aging to inquire about low-cost or free installation services. More tips like this are available anytime at caregivercrossingradio.org. With new weekly content created by Joyce House and distributed in partnership with Network Indiana, we're an on-air and online support group for Hoosier family caregivers. Hear conversations with experts, access the library of online education, and more at caregivercrossingradio.org.
Mother's Day is almost here. Miss M's Home and Garden is fully stocked with high-quality annuals, trees, shrubs, decor, and more. State Road 135 in Bargersville.
Go where the pros go. Drexel Interiors for Timberlake Kitchen and Bath Cabinets. Visit Drexel's new design center on 146th Street at River Road or on North Shadeland. DrexelIN.com.
All right, we're going to give away some tickets right after Matt Baird checks the roads.
All right, down in Greenwood or north of it, we still have 2 right lanes blocked on northbound 65 at Stop 11 Road. That's about a mile and a half shy of the Southport Road exit. This is causing stop traffic all the way back to Warsville Road, and right now that is a 35-minute delay. This was a road rage shooting that resulted in a fatality. Harrison Silcox with more coming up at 4:02. This afternoon. Also looking at eastbound 465 south side crash approaching I-65. Right lane block. Traffic stop to the White River. 41-minute delay on that. And then we have a rolled semi on the entrance ramp from Shadeland Avenue to eastbound 70. The ramp is open. It is partially blocked. Traffic sponsored by Drexel Interiors. Go where the pros go. Drexel Interiors for Timberlake Kitchen and Bath Cabinets. Visit Drexel's Design Centers at 146th Street and River Road or on North Shadeland. Online at DrexelIN.com. I'm Matt Baer. Follow us for instant traffic updates at WIBC Traffic.
Going back to the topic of food fights and have you ever had food thrown at you? Have you ever thrown it at somebody else? On Twitter, at Saucy Craboo, at a Dolphins versus Jets game in New York City, some dude threw a huge cup of ice at my feet as I was walking into the Meadowlands yelling they were going to put the fish on ice. She's a Dolphins fan. I had a pretzel thrown at me in my section. Anyway, we beat the pants off of them. On the YouTube chat, Nikki writes, working at a coffee shop, I had a gentleman throw his cherry cheese dish back at me because it was hollow. Keep the stories coming. 80 degrees at the American Standard Cooling Weather Center. Caller number 9 was Matthew. Matthew, welcome to the Hammer and Nigel Show. How the heck are you?
Pretty good, man. How are you?
Man, I'm doing all right. So, on the line, 2 tickets to the Sansio IndyCar Grand Prix, May 11th at IMS on the road course. We're going to play Drives a Car or Arrested at a Bar. I'm going to give you the name of someone. It will either be someone who is an IndyCar driver or someone who has been arrested at a bar. You get 2 out of 3 correct. I'm going to give you these tickets, okay?
Sounds good.
Number 1. Drives a car or arrested at a bar. Joseph Newgarden.
Drives a car.
Drives a car. There we go. Defending Indy 500 champion. All right. Get this one right. We're throwing a party. Drives a car or arrested at a bar. Charles Barkley.
Definitely arrested at a bar.
Yeah! 55! Barkley's had a few run-ins at bars. None of them really his fault. He was getting heckled, and he had to right the situation.
Well, yeah, but he also got arrested in a car while on his way to to a nefarious meeting with a young lady. You remember this story? That was in was in Phoenix.
Remember that. He threw a guy through a window at a bar in Milwaukee that was heckling him, and he beat up some mouthy dude in Orlando at a bar as well.
But while intoxicated and speeding, his explanation to a police officer for why he was speeding is still one of the all-time funniest stories I've ever heard.
Which is?
I just paid a hooker, and she's going to leave if I don't show up on time.
Got to get my money's worth. Matthew, my man, stay on the line, and we're going to get you all set up with those tickets, okay?
Excellent. Thanks, guys.
You got it. Don't go anywhere. Donnie Burgess updates us on Delphi next.
Hey, it's Hammer and Nigel, and look, if you're over 60 and you've not filed for Social Security, there's some stats you might want to know about.
Did you know that 96% of Americans forfeit an average of $111,000 in Social Security income?
Wow, and it's because they file for their benefits at the wrong time. Now, you could learn how you could wring every nickel out of the benefits with a free customized Social Security analysis from Bill Demery. He's your retirement guy right here in Indy.
The free analysis makes filing for Social Security as easy as it can be, and it could help ensure you get the last penny out of the benefits that are rightfully yours.
So if you've saved more than $200,000 for retirement and you've not filed for Social Security, call now, 317-648-5120. That's 648-5120. Schedule your free analysis by calling Bill Demery at 648-5120. And tell him Hammer and Nigel sent you.
Attention Indiana homeowners. Are you dealing with a wet and moldy crawl space? Hi, I'm Adam Swain with Swain Co. Crawl Space and Basement Repair, your real, local, Indiana family-owned experts dedicated to fixing your crawl space right the first time. And with our new no interest, no payment financing, you can get the repairs you need without breaking the bank. Don't let crawl space water problems dampen your spirits. Call Swain Co., Indy's most trusted waterproofing experts at 317-407-1868 or swaincollc.com.
Selling a home, buying a home, call the only real estate expert I trust. That's Mark Dietl. Here's what happened with Katie and Chris in Perry Township. Sadly, their marriage was ending, and they were both ready to sell the house and move on with life as soon as possible. Mark Dietl, the man for the job. Got the home sold for more than they expected in 24 hours.
Listen, you have a lot of options in the real estate game, but Mark Dietl has the guarantee. Mark Dietl separates himself with the guarantee. Mark Dietl guarantees your home sold at a mutually agreed upon price and deadline, or he will buy it. That is unbelievable. You pick the move date, no long-term contracts. All you have to do is reach out. Call Mark Dietl today, 317-755-4232, or go to markdietl.com. That's Mark, D-I-E-T-E-L, markdietl.com. Tell him Hammer and Nigel sent you.
There are more identity threats than you realize. Even if you monitor your credit, only a little personal info needs to leak out, like your Social Security number or password,
for you to become a victim.
LifeLock alerts you to threats you could miss. If your identity is stolen, a dedicated U.S.-based restoration specialist will work to fix it. No one can prevent all identity theft or monitor all transactions, but everyone can save up to 25% off their first year with promo code NEWS. Go to lifelock.com.
That moment when you realize you've got a plumbing problem, a real pipe-bursting, clogged-up tight, somebody get all the towels, full-on flush fiasco. But fear not, there's an expert for that.
Trust your local plumbing experts at Rod Ripple Service Experts and save $50 off any plumbing repair.
Plumbing problemos? There's an expert for that.
Call Rod Ripple Service Experts at 866-EXPERTS. See website for license details.
Campus chaos coast to coast.
Face-off got extremely violent. Student protesters were arrested.
93 WIBC.
A man accused of setting an Indigo bus on fire has been charged.
DeMarcus McLeod caused a fireball inside of the bus.
Another news update is minutes away.
Lane restrictions are coming to 465 between I-65 on the south side and US 31 on the north side.
93 WIBC Mobile News.
Coming up in 2 minutes, state police investigating a road rage shooting on 65. Ryan Hedrick reports on a police shooting in Beech Grove this morning. And Donnie Burgess reports on a ruling in favor of the Delphi defense team. That's coming up after Fox News Radio from the Technology Recycler Studios. You're listening to 93 WIBC, WIBC HD1 Indianapolis.
Hundreds of arrests aren't stopping protests on more college campuses. I'm Lisa Brady, Fox News. New York's Fordham University handing out suspension letters to students who've set up tents inside a building on the school's Manhattan campus just a day after students occupying a building at Columbia University were cleared out by police.
There's only about a dozen of them, but there were several students inside. They're part of this Gaza Solidarity encampment. They said they got the idea from Columbia, right, where this all started. We've been there for days. Divest from Israel is written here. Faculty for Palestine is written, and they've been kind of banging back and forth on the glass to try and communicate with those protesters who once again are being told if they don't get out of here, then the police could possibly move in.
Fox's Alexis McAdams, the White House repeating that protests must be peaceful and lawful, but no comment from President Biden himself, who has a campaign event today in D.C. Former President Trump hits the trail on a day off from his criminal trial in New York, which he calls a witch hunt, along with the other cases against him.
Well, you know, they're trying this weaponization of the Justice Department stuff. So far, that hasn't been working too well because we have the highest poll numbers we've ever had. People get it.
Holding a rally in Wisconsin first and heading next to Michigan. Reassuring words from Fed Chief Jay Powell, who's rejecting fear of stagflation, low economic growth, and high inflation.
The inflation data received so far this year have been higher than expected. Although some measures of short-term inflation expectations have increased in recent months, longer-term inflation expectations appear to remain well anchored.
So while the Fed's not ready to cut interest rates, Powell calls a rate hike unlikely, sparking a relief rally on Wall Street. But it didn't really last. The Dow up just 86 points at the bell after rallying more than 500 points a short time ago. The S&P and the NASDAQ in the red. America is listening to Fox News.
93 WIBC Mobile News. On the level, on the go.
They're calling it a road rage. 80 degrees, partly cloudy in the circle. No rain to worry about on radar. Clouds expected to hang around tonight with a low of 62. I'm Harrison Silcox. Here's what's trending at 4:02. Someone was shot and killed on I-65 this afternoon in Southport, south of Indy. State police say the driver's car went off the highway and into a pond.
There was about 20 or 30 state troopers. I've never seen more state troopers on one scene before. They're all looking down in the ditch because you can't see anything.
That man is stuck in traffic while state police are investigating. Dive teams are at the scene. Officers believe the shooting was a result of road rage. Matt Baer will tell you what's going on with traffic on northbound 65 in a few minutes from the WIBC Traffic Center. A father trying to pick up his child was shot by Beech Grove police this morning. Ryan Hedrick reports.
A man showed up at the Willow Glen South Apartments around 6 a.m. when he was actually supposed to get his kid at 6 p.m. Things got heated when the cops showed up. The guy told the police that they would have to kill him. They tried using a taser, but that didn't work. A fight then broke out, and the man cut one of the cops in the face. That's when they shot and killed him. Now 3 cops are on administrative leave. Ryan Hedrick, 93 WIBC Mobile News.
The latest Indianapolis homicide report shows a 15% drop from this time last year. Indy Metro Police want to keep those numbers down.
As the weather warms up, we want to remind people and the citizens of Indianapolis to step away from tense situations. Practice de-escalation and conflict resolution skills. Violence is not the answer.
Officer Amanda Hibschman, 25 cases have been cleared, 45 remain unsolved. The Delphi defense team will not be held in contempt. Donnie Burgess reports.
You probably remember the crime scene evidence leak from suspect Richard Allen's defense team last year. Special Judge Fran Gall ruled Wednesday the state could not prove the attorneys intentionally and willfully leaked evidence beyond a reasonable doubt. A hearing has been set for Tuesday, May 7th, where the defense will argue for a longer trial and the state will argue that the defense should not be allowed to use certain parts of their case. Jury selection begins May 13th. Donnie Burgess, 93 WIBC Mobile News.
Donnie joins Hammer and Nigel in a few minutes. You're 1 minute away from traffic and weather. It's 4:04.
Sinus pain. You know it all too well. It's constant. It's frustrating. The pressure, the headaches, the snoring, the constant clogged feeling. You're tired of feeling like this, but you've tried nasal sprays, over-the-counter medicines, even home remedies. No matter what you try, nothing gives you lasting sinus relief. You're tired of missing out and feeling miserable. There is something you can do, something different. Indianapolis Sinus Center. The physicians at Indianapolis Sinus Center have been serving the community with proven treatments for over 50 years. They know what you're going through, and they're standing by ready to offer you the best treatments to provide long-term relief. Breathe better. You don't have to keep suffering from sinus pain. Call Indianapolis Sinus Center today at 317-528-9650 and take the first step toward relief. 317-528-9650. That's 317-528-9650 or go to IndianapolisSinusCenter.com.
The traffic in the fives at 4:05. Here's Matt Baer.
Yeah, Harrison, as you were reporting, we do have 2 right lanes blocked north of Greenwood because of that road rage shooting. Northbound 65 at Stop 11 Road, 2 right lanes blocked as police continue to investigate. And this is stop traffic back to Worsville Road. Delay time is now 37 minutes. If you want to hop off at Worsville Road and then take northbound 31, that's fine. It's a good reroute, but you will encounter a delay from Worsville Road up to Stop 18. That's just shy of Smith Valley. Looking at the south side, eastbound 465, crash clear. We still have stop-and-go traffic from Man Road over to 31, but the front of the delay is clearing out nicely. A lot of people rerouted because of that crash, so eastbound 70 is stop-and-go traffic after Sam Jones to Meridian, Illinois. The entrance ramp from Shadeland Avenue to eastbound 70 is partially blocked because of a rolled semi-trailer. The ramp is open again, partially blocked. Traffic sponsored by Drexel Interiors. Go where the pros go. Drexel Interiors for Timberlake kitchen and bath cabinets. Visit Drexel's Design Centers at 146th Street and River Road or North Shadeland, online at drexelin.com. I'm Matt Baer. Follow us for instant traffic updates at WIBC Traffic.
And the forecast from the American Standard Cooling Weather Center.
Partly cloudy skies heading into the afternoon today. It's going to be a warm one with highs near 81, 58, and partly cloudy later tonight. I'm Wish TV Storm Track 8 meteorologist Tara Hastings for 93 WIBC.
I'm Harrison Silcox on the level, on the go, and on WIBC.com.
Hammer and Nigel.
Can you believe these characters are weirdos?
Hammer and Nigel show. Nigel is out. Guy Relford is in. I'm Jason Hammer, and a story that we have covered from the very beginning. Back when the Hammer and Nigel show was the evening program here at WIBC, the Delphi murders of Abby and Libby, that story has just always had a piece of my heart, and I'm hell-bent on following this until the very end. And right now in our newsroom, Donnie Burgess, we call him Delphi Donnie, a great nickname I think Ethan Hatcher, our weekend host, came up with. You are the designated reporter for all things Delphi, so we're going to call you Delphi Donnie for right now. But Donnie, this is a story where a lot of people have interest in it because the victims were so young, and then it became all these different questions, all these crazy theories, and a long manhunt, and then ultimately a charge, but people aren't sure if that's the right guy or not. Odinism and this and that. This whole thing has got people captivated, and every day it feels like there's a new layer to the story. So, what is the latest on the Delphi trial?
Well, probably the biggest thing here, the lead of all of this, is Special Judge Fran Gall has decided to not hold the attorneys in contempt. And if you remember, the origin of that situation was the evidence leak that happened from their office last year. That
crime scene pictures got out to the media.
Gruesome crime scene photos. They ended up on social media, ended up on YouTube. One man who was involved got so scared he was going to be arrested, he took his own life. And so all of this led to them being disqualified. Indiana Supreme Court steps in, brings them back, but there was still the question, should they be punished? Should they be held in contempt? And the judge says that the state could not prove that they willfully and intentionally leaked that evidence beyond a reasonable doubt. But she still called the defense sloppy, negligent, and incompetent. So a little dig in there towards the end, but still, that's the biggest thing that happened today.
The relationship between Judge Fran Gall, I should say the perceived relationship between Judge Fran Gall and the defense attorneys, is a rocky one.
They're not going to be exchanging Christmas cards. No way. No, absolutely not.
And by the way, I've been a trial lawyer for 40 years. I've never seen anything like this in terms of that kind of adversarial relationship between a judge and trial lawyers. I've seen lawyers get admonished. I've seen them get scolded. I've been scolded. I've never seen anything like this. It's off the charts.
And especially for the Supreme Court to have to step in,
exactly,
reinstate, and everything that's happened. Yeah. So but there have been a couple more things that were dropped today as well.
So even though it appears that Judge Gull does not like personally these attorneys or the way that they're doing their business, she kind of sided with them in a way. They're not going to be held in contempt.
No, so they are good on that. And the prosecutor, Nick McClellan, also wanted them held in contempt. He claimed that they violated the gag order by releasing statements to the media, but the judge ruled those statements were released before the gag order. I will not hold them in contempt. I will pass that along to another body that I can't quite remember the name of, but that's off to the side now. So those things are held. Those are things have been pushed off the table. Now we are getting to some other interesting matters in the case.
So what else is going on?
So the defense wanted a pretrial conference to argue their case that this trial is not going to be long enough. They do not believe 2.5 weeks is enough time. And Guy, you actually may be able to step in on this. They say that the state has about 120 witnesses ready, about 90 exhibits. The defense has about 70 witnesses and similar amounts of exhibits ready to go. And they argued that Richard Allen's constitutional rights are being violated because the state or the defense, either side, could easily take up 2.5 weeks. They want more time. The judge is not leaning towards that. They're going to talk about that this Tuesday, May 7th.
Guy, what do you think?
Well, there's a lot of case law out there that said a judge has a lot of discretion in the conduct of their courtroom and the conduct of trials and exactly how much time they're going to give the parties. But at some point, you get into due process issues. And let's say the prosecution, as Donnie just mentioned, takes up 90% of the time, and they turns around to the defense and say, okay, you got 2 days to put on, 70-some witnesses? I mean, you can't do that. You can't come anywhere close to that. So it becomes a due process issue at some point. A lot of times judges will say they're going to set those kinds of deadlines, but then the more the evidence comes in and the more they see how lengthy it really needs to be, they can become a little more flexible on that point. But I've been in trials where they said this trial's going to be a week and a half, and that's it, and that's how much time you got. Now, what you have to do in that context is split that at least evenly, or give the defense the opportunity to have as much time as the prosecution. You can't just say it's 2 weeks and the prosecutors can take as much time as they want,
right?
Because they always go first. And so you've got to split it up evenly, but as long as both sides that have basically the same amount of evidence to produce and to introduce, they get an equal number of days or hours, then they have to figure out how to get their case in.
Donnie, what did I read about phone records and Richard Allen? What are his defense attorneys wanting to do with phone records?
So they said that there was a little bit of additional discovery that was handed over by the state. It includes some discussions between two officers back in 2017 about different cell phone ping data that was the state had, and the defense is arguing that this newly acquired discovery with these different cell phone pings, apparently from Liberty German's phone, they would completely change the timeline of murders that has been laid out by the state.
Guy? Donnie, I have a question, and there might not be any recent developments on this, but if there is, you'd know. The defense counsel came out some time ago and made some not so ambiguous comments about evidence being planted or evidence being fabricated in this case. And I think there was a loose reference made to the unfired round that was found near the bodies. Is there anything happened with that? Has that gone anywhere? Should police or prosecutors be nervous about that issue?
So it hasn't moved anywhere yet, but it could possibly this Tuesday. In addition to that pretrial conference, they are going to discuss the state's motion to, and I don't know if I'm pronouncing the word right, limine. Does that sound right?
Motion in limine.
Limine, yeah.
It's to exclude evidence.
Yes, so this was a couple days ago. The state wants certain things like Odinism, alternate suspects, testimony from a former Rushville police officer, and different things like that the defense has brought up to not be allowed in the jury trial. And I believe part of that, Hammer, is what you just brought up, the included in their alternate theories and things they say they have evidence for is, the bullet may have it may have been somewhere else. The crime scene, the staging of the bodies, things like that. Then so that is where the bullet thing is going.
And
right
I'm sorry,
now.
is this a defense motion or a prosecution motion?
The prosecution, they want all that stuff that I just mentioned to not be allowed in the trial,
including evidence that somehow that bullet may have been planted or wasn't there originally.
And people online and just anywhere else that you are discussing the case, it sounds to them like the state does not want the defense to defend.
Yeah.
And so, yeah.
And by the way, I know nothing about any of that evidence.
Right.
I don't know. I mean, I'm not making any aspersions whatsoever. I'm just asking if that's gone anywhere because I heard that reference in the media.
Yep.
And just from a guy that's been following this, again, I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a member of our newsroom. I'm just somebody that's been following this. I'm thinking to myself, all right, if you're the prosecution, you should have everything you need to go after this guy. Why are you so concerned about what they have to offer? To me, that's a little suspicious.
Well, yeah, that's right. You typically don't bring a case unless you're convinced as a prosecutor that you can prove it beyond a reasonable doubt. And that's when you that's when you charge. That's when you file what's called an information, which is the charging document, because you're confident you have everything you need to make your case.
And I'm not mad at the prosecution for trying. I mean, hell, why not try to get the defense as neutered as humanly possible? But if they're willing to die on this hill of, we don't want the Odinism, we don't want these witnesses, we don't want all of this other stuff, it's an awful lot of stuff you don't want all of a sudden.
Well, that's right.
Raising some questions.
And let me tell you how a motion in limine works. And what it is like you always have the opportunity to object to evidence at trial as it's being introduced. Like if somebody says, this is this is a picture and I want to introduce it into evidence, the other side can always say, I object, that's inadmissible because. So you don't have to file these motions, but it's smart to file them, whichever side you're on, because it means that if you file a motion in limine to say this is inadmissible, and I want a ruling before trial starts that it's inadmissible based on the rules of evidence and the law of the state of Indiana. If the judge rules on that it's inadmissible before the trial starts, that means lawyers can't talk about it during their opening statement. Mm-hmm. That means they can't ask questions about it. You outside the hearing of the jury, you can allude to what it might have been as you're trying to talk the judge into changing their mind, but it limits things on the front end, including what can be talked about during opening statements, and that's huge.
Got about 30 seconds left, Donnie. So what's next?
So Tuesday, May 7th, pre-trial conference. They want a longer trial. State wants evidence not introduced into the trial. Jury selection begins in less than 2 weeks, May 13th. Opening statements, May 17th. And the trial for now will go through to May 31st. And until then, there are still more motions and things to settle, but that's where we are headed right now.
This changes every day. Where can we get more information?
WIBC.com is where it always is at.
Donnie,
great job,
Burgess,
Donnie.
From the WIBC newsroom, thank you so much. Matt Baer, crazy stuff going on out there.
Yeah, Hammer, and the investigation continues north of Greenwood right now on northbound 65 at Stop 11 Road. That's about 1.5 miles south of Southport Road. 2 right lanes are blocked as Indiana State Police investigate an earlier road rage shooting. Details on that coming up at 4:30 with Harrison Silcox from the WIBC newsroom. Traffic-wise, we are backed up to Worsville Road and barely moving right now, guys. My delay time is at 43 minutes. If you want to use US 31, you can hop off at Worsville, go over to US 31, travel west, and then north on 31. That's going to be delayed for a moment, but then you're free. Eastbound 465 at I-65, the south side crash is clear, and traffic is still jammed up from Kentucky Avenue over to Harding Street. Traffic rerouted, so eastbound 70 is stop and go after Sam Jones into the south split. On the east side, Shadeland Avenue to eastbound 70, there is a rolled semi-trailer on the entrance ramp. The ramp is open but partially blocked. Traffic sponsored by Drexel Interiors. Go where the pros go. Drexel Interiors for Timberlake kitchen and bath cabinets. Visit Drexel's Design Centers at 146th Street and River Road or on North Shadeland. Online at drexelin.com. I'm Matt Baer. Follow us for instant traffic updates at WIBC Traffic.
Man, be careful out there, guys. There's a lot of crazy people out there. Just be careful. Right now, we've got partly sunny skies, 80 at the American Standard Cooling Weather Center. Is this anything? Next.
It's high time we quit electing politicians who campaign on half-truths. Mike Speedy and Jeff Roth say they're pro-life, yet voted for abortion with exceptions. Speedy voted against abolishing all abortion.
I'm John Jacob. As state rep, I voted to end all abortion,
Jefferson Shreve tries to make you think he's pro 2A, yet he received an F from the NRA.
I'm John Jacob. As state rep, I fought hard for 2A constitutional carry and against red flag laws.
Jamison Carrier says he's an outsider, but those running his campaign are part of the establishment swamp. Being tied to establishment makes him beholden to the swamp.
I'm John Jacob. I'm the only true, proven constitutional, conservative, anti-establishment candidate. I kept all my campaign promises, proving I do what I say I will do. I clearly say where I stand on issues.
John Jacob is the real deal. Vote John Jacob for Congress, District 6 on May 7th. Learn more at voteforjohnjacob.com. That's vote, the number 4, johnjacob.com.
I'm John Jacob, and I approve this ad. Paid for by John Jacob for Congress.
Hi, Pat Sullivan here from Sullivan Hardware and Garden and Allisonville Home and Garden by Sullivan. Our stores are blooming with flowers, hanging baskets, bedding plants, perennials, annual containers, shrubs, trees, and much more. With so many colors and varieties, it's the best looking selection you'll find anywhere. Come see the difference. Why, you ask? Our plants are from top quality Midwest growers, many right here in Indianapolis. Check the specials on our patio furniture like all-weather wicker, Berlin Gardens poly, cast aluminum, teak, and more. You can even choose your own custom cushions on most sets. We specialize in excellent quality mid-price patio furniture that's in stock at our 37,000 square foot warehouse, all priced at 30% off. See our large selection of grills, Weber, Traeger, and the Big Green Egg. Shop, play, experience. Spring with Sullivan's. 71st and Keystone, 49th and Penn, Cicero, and Allisonville Home and Garden by Sullivan in Fishers.
The problem at our border is not complicated. You know that. The real problem is Congress. They say the right thing, but when it comes to it, well, they sell out. Jefferson Shreve takes nothing, owes no one, and can't be bought. Shreve will finish the wall and fund more patrols. And if they came here illegally, he'll send them back. That's Shreve's plan. Common sense, straightforward, do what needs to be done kind of thinking. And Mike Speedy? Yeah, he's the guy posing at the border in his ads, but he paid tuition for illegals with our tax money. And he gave them driver's licenses too. So how can we trust anything he says on immigration or anything else? And he's taken hundreds of thousands from lobbyists, you know, selling out. So if you care about the border, vote for the guy who can't be bought. Law, order, and a secure border. Jefferson Shreve for Congress.
I'm Jefferson Shreve, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Shreve for Congress.
Wealth-changing question. Has your advisor created a portfolio based only on your age and risk tolerance? That's simply not good enough. Your money deserves better, and so do you. At Creative Planning, our private wealth managers learn about you first. And then they create a customized plan and portfolio by partnering with our in-house money managers, accountants, and attorneys. Don't settle for a standard portfolio. Book your free meeting today at creativeplanning.com. Creative Planning, a richer way to wealth.
Hey guys, don't be that dad without life insurance. When thanks to Ethos, you can be that great dad with life insurance to help keep his family living exactly like they do now, secure and protected in the event of the unexpected. With a fast and easy online experience, some policies as low as $1 a day and up to $2 million in coverage with no medical exam, just a few health questions. Ethos makes getting life insurance protection hassle-free. E for easy, E for Ethos at checkethos.com. That's checkethos.com.
This hour on WIBC is powered by Miss M's Home and Garden, Johnson County Spring Nursery Headquarters.
Hammer and Nigel presents
It depends upon what the meaning of the word is.
Is this anything?
All right, let's rock and roll.
So with Big Nige being out today, this is how it's going to work. I'm going to run these stories by the gun guy, Guy Relford. He's going to break down all of the information, and then he'll give you the verdict. Is the story in question anything or not? We'll start with this. A new survey of folks that travel a lot said the number one thing that would fall into the category of this makes it a perfect hotel is Wi-Fi. Good Wi-Fi in the hotel ranked higher than a king-size bed, attractions nearby, a hot tub in the room. Guy Relford, is this anything?
That's shocking to me, and maybe that's a generational thing, right? I'm an old guy, and hey, if I'm traveling on business, and I've got to use my computer in the room. All right, I can see it. But man, for anybody who travels, including on vacation, the number one thing you want is Wi-Fi. That's misguided to me. I mean, to be in a great area, to have a great facility, have a nice room, to have a king size bed, to have great room service, to have 24-hour room service. I can list about 20 things that I'd put on my list ahead of Wi-Fi.
Right, and if it's that important to you, then why don't you just travel with like a personal hotspot or something?
Well, that's exactly, because we all have hotspots if we want one. If you got a smartphone, you got a hotspot if you're willing to pay for it.
Right. The number one thing that makes the perfect hotel is Wi-Fi. I'll take a balcony overlooking the ocean and beach.
Oh yeah.
Over Wi-Fi any day of the week.
Absolutely. Well, what would your number one be other than overlooking the beach?
Probably a big pool and a hot tub.
There
I'm a
you
hot
go.
tub guy.
Yeah.
If I have a hot tub in the room, that would be solid. I can get down with something like that.
There you go.
Is this anything? There's a guy in New York who went viral over the weekend after he promised to eat an entire tub of cheese balls in the middle of Union Square. Now, I believe this guy was lactose intolerant. So he puts this social media post out there, and then hundreds of people showed up to watch and cheer him on. Here's a quick before, during, and after of his attempt to conquer the big tub of cheese balls.
I am allergic to gluten. And today I will be eating this entire jar of cheese balls. Eat those balls. Eat those balls. Eat those balls.
You hear that, Kylan?
No, I mean, and
that's nothing.
An idiot trying to eat too much of something. I mean, but wait, we say tub of cheese. We're talking about a bathtub. What are we talking about? A tub of cheese balls. Is that a thing?
Now, I don't know what he means by tub.
I don't know what tub means.
I'm assuming that it's larger than the regular canister of cheese balls. It's got to be, a tub is a big unit of measurement, right?
Well, a bathtub, yeah, that's damn large. But no, I don't know what that means. But even no matter what the unit of measurement is, I mean, some idiot saying he's going to eat a bunch of something in a public place, I'm sorry, it's been done. It's not a big deal to me.
Chris Christie does that every day. Is this anything? A police officer in Canada decided to anonymously donate a kidney, and it saved a school teacher's life. Both women opted to meet after the surgeries, and now they've become good friends. Here are Joanna and Annie talking about their story.
They said that I have severe kidney disease and I would be needing a transplant. I was told 5 to 6 years. You go, okay, that's what I'll do. Because you have a family and that's what you do.
The desire was to give someone life. Since I didn't have any children, I didn't have that luck. I wanted to give life back. That was my way to do it.
This is an extraordinary person. This is someone who thinks of others. We hugged for so long.
We're the perfect match.
That anything?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely something. You give up an organ, for crying out loud, and something as important as a kidney, realizing you got a backup, but you only got one more.
Right.
That's a huge thing. I would be slightly more impressed with this story if the police officer who donated that kidney had remained anonymous and never even wanted to be acknowledged, just wanted to do it as a good thing to do, because, to go after the fact, to go then public and hey, look, it's great that she can be recognized, and that's wonderful, and I get it. I would have been just slightly more impressed if she just stayed completely anonymous.
And I don't know what the situation is with her home life, friends, or family, but does it make me a horrible person that, listen, I'm holding on to an organ until the very end in case a family member or a friend needs it, something like that. I'm not going to be quick to just rush and give it to a stranger for the hell of doing it.
Well, that's a really good point, because you don't know what family member who, you have a higher likelihood of being a good match for might need down the line. So, no, I think that's a very important point. But, no, for someone to be this selfless and do something like this, that's definitely a big thing.
Want to do a round of Ask the Gun Guy?
Absolutely. I'd love to do one.
All right. So if you've got a question about firearms, what you can do in certain situations, what you can do when you travel with your firearm, any gun question at all. We've got the best two-way attorney in America here in Guy Relford. So let's rock and roll. 239-9393. Keep your questions brief. Give, Guy time to answer. Get to your point. But whatever you want to talk about, 2A related, firearm related, Guy Relford can answer your questions, or at least he'll try.
Absolutely.
239-9393. Ask the gun guy. This is the Hammer and Nigel Show.
According to a 2023 Gallup poll, 71% of non-retired adults are worried about retirement saving. At Howard Bailey Financial, we don't believe retiring with confidence should be guesswork. In fact, our mission is to help you gain clarity and purpose and elevate meaning in your life through personal and practical financial strategies. That's why we provide our Retire with Purpose toolkit at no cost. In it, you'll find valuable information on minimizing taxes, maximizing Social Security, and building a retirement income you won't outlive. To receive your complimentary toolkit, text CLARITY to 866-482-9559. Take a step toward a more confident retirement with Howard Bailey Financial and text CLARITY to 866-482-9559.
This endorsement was not provided by a client of Howard Bailey. This individual was compensated for this endorsement. For more information, visit howardbailey.com/TS1.
Oh, yeah. So lucky to be an American Standard customer. I have American Standard equipment installed in my house. I use American Standard local independent dealers because I know I'll get the best. Speaking of the best, here's one of those local American Standard dealers in Indy.
How about Reinhardt Heating and Cooling in Danville? Danny Reinhardt started Reinhardt Heating and Cooling 38 years ago. They are one of the longest tenured American Standard dealers in all of Central Indy. And now Danny's sons and daughter are among the well-trained experts that are on staff at Reinhardt Heating and Cooling. Reinhardt Heating and Cooling, they're hooking up Hendricks and the surrounding counties. They want to make sure that AC unit is rocking and rolling before the hot summer air comes in. Call Reinhardt in Danville right now. Ask them about indoor air quality service. 317-745-4526. Reinhardt Heating and Cooling in Danville. Tell them Hammer and Nigel sent you.
Chapters of this story take a whole month to tell. This is May. It starts with twists and turns on the IMS road course for the Sancio Grand Prix. Then PPG presents Armed Forces Indy 500 qualifying in the fight for the pole position. May continues with Indy's biggest party, Miller Lite Carb Day. And all roads lead to the 108th running of the Indianapolis 500 presented by Gainbridge. May is yours. May is ours. This is May. Buy now and save. Get tickets at IMS.com. 93 WIBC Mobile News. On the level. On the go.
What they know so far, cloudy and 80 degrees in downtown Indianapolis. Nothing to worry about on your radar, low of 62 tonight. I'm Harrison Silcox. Here's what's trending at 4:33. A road rage shooting is what police believe happened at the south side of Indianapolis this afternoon. State Police Sergeant John Perrine says a man was killed, and the car he was driving ended up in a pond not far from County Line Road.
The car just was pulled out of the water within the last few minutes, which hopefully is going to give us some answers to exactly what happened just before this crash and maybe what caused it.
And they believe the man died outside of the car, not in the water. If you have any info, give state police a call. Traffic is slow in the northbound lanes to 65 in the area where it happened. Matt Bear will let you know what's going on in a few minutes from the WIBC Traffic Center. The judge still says the Delphi defense team was sloppy, negligent, and incompetent, but she will not hold him in contempt. Donnie Burgess reports.
There was a crime scene evidence leak from suspect Richard Allen's legal team last year. One of the men responsible was eventually arrested and charged. Judge Fran Gall said Wednesday prosecutor Nick McClellan could not prove that attorneys Baldwin and Rosie willfully and intentionally leaked that evidence. There's a hearing set for this Tuesday where the defense will argue for a longer trial and the state will argue the defense shouldn't be allowed to use parts of their defense come May 13th. Donnie Burgess, 93 WIBC Mobile News.
The president of Columbia University has not done a good job handling pro-Palestine protests on her campus, says the former president.
It was a great school. It's been, badly damaged, I think, reputationally. But the person that heads it up, a woman,
She waited so long. She was so weak. She was so afraid. She was so bad. They could have done this with the tents, and it would have gone quickly and no problem.
Donald Trump, who's campaigning in Wisconsin this afternoon, the White House says the hate speech being heard on some college campuses should not be tolerated.
Hate speech should not be allowed. We should condemn that. That's what this administration has always been consistent about and clear about, and we're going to continue to do that.
Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre, Indiana State Police Superintendent Doug Carter says he heard hate speech at IU last weekend. And the Federal Reserve says they're leaving interest rates unchanged. A mixed day in the stock market. The Dow finished up by 87 to 37,903. The Nasdaq was down by 52 to 15,605. The S&P 500 also down, dropping 17 points to close at 5,018. Traffic and weather in 60 seconds. It's 4:35.
She isn't working for us. So who is Victoria Spartz working for in Congress? Victoria Spartz said she'd fight the radical left, but spoke in defense of the squad's Ilhan Omar and refused to officially condemn Rashida Tlaib after her hateful, anti-Semitic statements. While there's an invasion on our southern border, Spartz votes to send $40 billion of our tax dollars to Ukraine. Victoria Spartz also says she stands with President Trump. Truth is, Spartz stated it's irrelevant who the president is and helps the Biden administration pass their agenda. Chuck Goodrich is an America First conservative. Chuck built a business that hires and builds American, and Chuck voted to end sanctuary cities. Chuck puts our national defense first by banning any Chinese presence near our military and National Guard bases. Chuck Goodrich fights for our values, voting to protect female sports and keep biological males from competing against young women in Indiana. Vote Chuck Goodrich for Congress. Paid for by Go With Chuck Goodrich.
I'm Chuck Goodrich, a candidate for Congress, and I approve this message.
With traffic at 4:36, what's going on, Matt Bear?
Harrison, you were just reporting on this, the crash and fatality on northbound at 65, and right now at Stop 11 Road, 2 right lanes are blocked, and that's about a mile and a half shy of Southport Road. Traffic is stopped past Worsville Road. You can exit there and take 31. That's going to be backed up for a little bit as you make your reroute through there. Crash reported westbound 70 coming down to downtown. This is at Harding Street. We're backed up into the South Split. Crash on the east side. Westbound 70 after Rural Street, Keystone Avenue before the North Split. 3 right lanes are blocked, and we are stopped back to Emerson Avenue. Looking at eastbound 70, a crash on the entrance ramp from Shadeland Avenue. That's because of a rolled semi. The ramp is open. It is partially blocked. Crash, Shadeland Avenue at Fall Creek Road, and a crash at 38th Street at Clarendon. Traffic sponsored by Drexel Interiors. Go where the pros go. Drexel Interiors for Timberlake kitchen and bath cabinets. Visit Drexel's Design Centers at 146th Street and River Road on North Shadeland. Online at drexelin.com. I'm Matt Bear. Follow us for instant traffic updates at WIBC Traffic.
The forecast from the American Standard Cooling Weather Center.
Partly cloudy skies heading into the afternoon today. It's going to be a warm one with highs near 81, 58, and partly cloudy later tonight. I'm Wish TV Storm Track 8 meteorologist Tara Hastings for 93 WIBC.
And I'm Harrison Silcox on the level, on the go, and on WIBC.com.
You're listening to the Hammer and Nigel Show.
Let's rock and roll. It is time to ask the gun guy. Guy Relford, host of the Gun Guy Show here at 93 WIBC, licensed attorney, firearms instructor, a man who's had a hand in writing some of the 2A legislation here in the state of Indiana. I'm not just saying this to blow smoke up his backside because he's here, but the best 2A attorney in all of America. So let's try to get as much free advice out of Guy as we possibly can. Normally, you got to pay for this kind of stuff, but on this segment, we're going to make him do it for free. So, Pauletta, you are up first. Welcome to the Hammer and Nigel Show. We got Guy Relford here.
Hi, Guy. I was curious, how does Jim Lucas still have his gun or his license to carry, or I know they no longer need a license to carry when he's got a DUI?
Well, because it's not a disqualifier. It's only a misdemeanor charge. That was his first one he'd ever had. And so it's only a misdemeanor, and you don't lose your license to carry or your ability to possess a firearm as a result of that. Now, if he or anyone, I want to be talking about Lucas, if somebody got 2 OWIs between, in a certain time frame, and the second one's a felony, now you've lost your gun rights, but not just for a misdemeanor charge like that.
Felony is the key word here, right? You get that felony, right. That's a game changer.
That's right. And if you don't have a license to carry already, if you've had 2 or more alcohol-related offenses or drug-related offenses, and the latest one was within 3 years for alcohol or within 5 years for drugs, then you can't get a license. But if they're all misdemeanors, you're not a prohibited person.
Let's go to Rob. Rob, welcome to the Hammer and Nigel show. We got the gun guy here.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. Hey, gun guy.
Yes, sir.
First of all, the lady that you spoke with the other day that pulled the gun on the Amazon driver.
Yeah.
She's a Karen. I hate to say it. Like, don't be so afraid of the world that your first instinct is to pull a weapon on somebody that's, mild-mannerly approaching your front porch.
Yeah, and what you're alluding to, other people may not have heard. On my show, I had a caller that said it was in the middle of the night. It was like 4 a.m, and it was unmarked car, no uniform. Got out of what turned out to be an Amazon delivery vehicle, not marked like that, a private vehicle, and it was approaching her house. And she was telling the person to stay away, and they were still approaching the house, and she ended up pulling a gun. And I was trying to be gentle about it, but hopefully, if you were listening to that, clearly you were, I communicated that was a really bad idea and could have resulted in criminal charges against her.
When does your show air, in case somebody's listening for the first time?
5 to 7 on Saturdays, 5 to 7 p.m.
Let's go to Hannah. Hannah, welcome to the Hammer and Nigel show.
Hi. So I've got a little bit of a two-part question. So the first part is I have never owned a gun before, and I would like to get one for protection purposes for when I'm at home as well as out and about. What do you recommend for that? And then 2, what are my rights in protecting my home? Because we've had a lot of criminal activity in the area. My car was actually stolen over the weekend.
Yeah.
And someone was chased out this morning from my yard.
Well, first of all, buying a gun, I believe it's Hannah. Buying a gun is a very personal decision. And, for somebody to just said, oh, you need this kind of gun or that kind of gun, all they're doing really is expressing their personal preferences to you. A lot of it depends on what fits your hand the best, what feels most comfortable to you. A gun you can see the sights well, because based on color and size and shape and texture, they can all look a little different. So I would recommend going to a gun store that has a range where they also rent guns, and there are several of those around. One of them is Indy Arms. My friends up on Keystone and 55th Street. You can handle different guns. You can shoot different guns. I would recommend first taking a lesson, though, so that you know the rules of gun safety, you know the basics of marksmanship, and then go in, handle different guns, and decide what's best for you. I recently recommended the gun that I carry every day, which is a SIG 365. There are different sizes and different variations of that, to a lady that asked me the same question, just as one to consider. And she ended up loving it and buying it. So you might look at that, but look at a lot of different guns. It's very personal, and just for someone to name off makes and models is always a bad idea. The second part of your question, I spend 3 hours on in my gun law class that I teach. By the way, I have one of those coming up on June 1st. So it's hard to tell you exactly what your rules, what the rules are, what your rights are. But I'll give you a quick answer, which is you can use reasonable force, including deadly force, to prevent or terminate an unlawful entry into or attack upon your home. So somebody's trying to break in, somebody has broken in, then I'll just give you that part. There's a lot more to it, but you are justified in using deadly force in that context.
So, Guy, let me jump in here real quick. Let's say Hannah is asleep at night, and she hears somebody breaking into her house at 2 o'clock in the morning. Can she shoot that person?
Yes, if she reasonably believes that's an unlawful entry. Now, if that's her roommate or spouse, or someone whose name's on the lease, or it's an invitee, then the rules change. But if it's someone that's not invited, that has no legal right to be there, and breaks in Our Castle doctrine says, yes, you can use deadly force against that person.
What if that bad person realizes Hannah's just woken up and starts to flee and they're in the front yard and they're trying to run away at this point?
Absolutely not. Because at that point, you're no longer preventing an unlawful entry and you're no longer terminating an unlawful entry because they've terminated their unlawful entry all by themselves. So at that point, it's time to be a good witness. Get your phone out, videotape if you can, get a license plate if that's available. Be a good witness, but no, they're outside the house running away, then the gun needs to go back on the nightstand.
And Hannah, real quick, my wife was in the same position as you were because I work away a lot and she's home. The gun she chose was a Glock 17 Gen 2.
Yeah.
And you're familiar with that?
Yeah, great gun. It's a full-size gun, so it's not a gun you necessarily want to carry because it's got a 5-inch barrel. I have one. I had one in my gym, in my range bag when I went out and did a lesson with your family. A very popular gun. It's just a full-size gun, which makes it a little more inconvenient, a little heavy, and a little harder to conceal. You want something a little smaller if you're going to want to carry it and conceal it. But it's a fabulous gun, and especially for a nightstand gun, which is, I think, was why you guys bought it.
And Hannah, just check out YouTube. Like, there's a million YouTube videos out there that you can watch. Peter, welcome to the Hammer and Nigel show. Guy Relford's here.
Good afternoon, gentlemen.
Hey.
Here's a silly question. I have a 1959 Belgian Browning 12-gauge shotgun.
Oh yeah, is it semi-automatic?
Yep.
Oh, that's a beautiful. That's a collector's item, man. That's one of John Moses Browning's greatest accomplishments.
Yes, it is. So it's never been registered. If I take it to a gun shop to have it reblued, I've been told that it will then be registered. Is that correct?
We don't have registration in Indiana, and there's no federal requirement for registration unless it's a machine gun or a short-barreled shotgun or something that's regulated by the National Firearms Act of 1934. So it doesn't need to be registered. You can own any gun that's not stolen or have the serial number obliterated off of it or something along those lines. So when people ask me, how do I register my gun, or do I have to worry that my gun's not registered? We don't have gun registration in Indiana, so that's just not a concern.
All right, we got to take a quick time out here. Can we do one more round real quick since you're here?
I insist. I love this. It's a blast.
All right, so if you're on hold, Toby, Scott, Charles, Les, stay there. We'll get to you on the flip side here. It's the Hammer and Nigel show.
Business. It's all the things that keep this world turning. And behind every one of these companies is a partner helping to keep it all moving. It's why the local flower shop and your favorite pizza joint, the startup and the stadium, hospitals and hotels, banks and restaurants nationwide all choose the advanced network, cybersecurity solutions, and round-the-clock trusted partnership from Comcast Business, the company that powers more businesses than anyone else. Comcast Business, powering possibilities.
See why Comcast Business powers more small businesses than anyone else. Get started with fast speeds and advanced security for $49 a month for 12 months with a 2-year contract when you add one unlimited mobile line. Plus, ask how to get up to an $800 prepaid card with a qualifying gig bundle. Don't wait. Call to switch today. Ends 5/6/24. Restrictions apply. New customers only with 100 megabits per second internet and security edge. EcoBill and autopay required. Equipment, taxes, and fees extra.
Okay, listen up. Are you over 60 and have not filed for Social Security? Did you know, Hammer, that 96% of Americans forfeit an average of $111,000 in Social Security income?
It's because they file for their benefits at the wrong time.
Yep.
And listen, contact Bill Demery today because he can teach you how to wring every last nickel out of those benefits with a free customized Social Security analysis. Bill Demery, my retirement guy, your retirement guy here in Indy.
And if you have saved more than $200,000 for retirement and have not filed for Social Security, you got to schedule that free analysis now by calling 317-648-5120.
Bill Demery makes it easy to understand. 317-648-5120. Get that free analysis, 317-648-5120.
You've seen Chuck Goodrich's ads. It's time to take the mask off and meet the real Chuck. Get rich. Goodrich allied himself with never-Trumpers and liberals who spent millions to defeat President Trump. And it turns out that Chuck Goodrich lobbied to give amnesty to millions of illegal immigrants. Goodrich even bragged about his award as a top 100 woke CEO who hires employees based on race. In the legislature, Goodrich voted to bring critical race theory into our classrooms and to teach our children that America is a racist country. What did crooked Chuck get in return for siding with the liberals? Millions of earmarks. And a law that could put 40 million of our tax dollars into his business. Chuck Goodrich is just another corrupt and liberal sellout. He can't be trusted.
I am Victoria Spartz, candidate for Congress, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Victoria Spartz for Congress.
That's Faber's Bean Window. Trust me.
Are you thinking about your next home improvement project, but you need more than a window replacement? Whether it's siding, entry doors, or maybe a bath or shower remodel, design it before you buy it. That's right. B's using the latest in technology to create an architectural design so you can see our products on your house before you purchase.
For a limited time, receive 50% off all products plus 12 months, no interest, no payments.
Faber's Bean Window. Trust me.
Mother's Day is almost here. Sundown Gardens is fully stocked with high-quality annuals, trees, shrubs, decor, and more. 186th Street and Spring Mill Road, sundown.gardens.com.
Go where the pros go. Drexel Interiors for Timberlake kitchen and bath cabinets. Visit Drexel's new design center on 146th Street at River Road or on North Shadeland. DrexelIN.com.
Head to the contest page at WIBC.com and enter for your chance to win 2 tickets to the sold-out Tales from the Track event featuring Scott Dixon, plus VIP seating with Dixon's crew chief during the event, and passes to meet Scott Dixon.
We've got new month of May shirts up at the Hammer and Nigel Show merchandise store, store.hammerandnigel.com. The new one is only available until May 8th. It's Miss Carb Day. So if you are a lady that enjoys Carb Day at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, this is the shirt for you. If you know somebody that would like it, maybe you are that someone, you can see it right now. It's pinned to the top of our Twitter, at Hammer and Nigel. It's on our Facebook, at Hammer and Nigel. You have to look for it because Zucker Nerd has restricted us. But the new Miss Carb Day shirt is available, but you've got to order it before May 8th to get it in time. Matt Baer.
South side, northbound 65, crash cleanup and investigation continues at Stop 11 Road. That's shy of Southport Road, and right now 2 right lanes are blocked, stopping us back to Worsville Road and a little bit beyond. Delayed time is at 38 minutes. Crash east side, westbound is 70 approaching the north split. 3 right lanes blocked. Traffic stopped back to Emerson Avenue. Delay time is 26 minutes. Crash on the entrance ramp from Shadeland Avenue to eastbound 70. It's a rolled semi. The ramp is open, but it is partially blocked. Crash leaving downtown to the airport westbound 70 before Belmont, and right now traffic backed up to the south split. Crash at 38th Street at Clarendon. Crash east side Shadeland Avenue at Fall Creek Road. Traffic sponsored by Drexel Interiors. Go where the pros go. Drexel Interiors for Timberlake kitchen and bath cabinets. Visit Drexel's Design Centers at 146th Street and River Road or at North Shadeland. Online at DrexelIN.com. I'm Matt Baer. Follow us for instant traffic updates at WIBC Traffic.
And yes, the Miss Carb Day shirt comes in multiple colors. See it for yourself. It's pinned to the top of our social media, Facebook, Twitter. It's in our Instagram story. Just look for Hammer and Nigel. It's 80 at the American Standard Cooling Weather Center. We're doing a round of Ask the Gun Guy, and Cave tweets at us, what is Guy's thoughts on non-violent felons retaining gun rights?
That's an important question because there's a lot of misinformation on the internet about that. Under federal law, any felony, and that's defined as a conviction for which the maximum sentence, not what you are sentenced to, what you could have been sentenced to, if that exceeds 1 year, that's typically how we define felony. You are precluded from possessing a firearm. And violent, nonviolent makes no difference. What people get confused about is under Indiana law, we have what's called a serious violent felony, and you can't possess a gun if you have a serious violent felony. But even a lot of the crimes that make you a serious violent felon are not violent, like dealing meth, dealing cocaine, or make you a serious violent felon. So, but even then, any felony, doesn't matter what it is, under federal law, you're looking at 10 years in federal prison if you caught in possession of a firearm.
All right, we got 4 calls to get to in 2 minutes, so we got to fly. Let's make it quick. Toby, what's your question?
Good evening, fellas. Hey, Guy.
Hey.
I was just curious what your opinion is on like the self-carry or the self-defense carry insurance that like say
I'll just tell you quickly. I've had USCCA, that's U.S. Concealed Carry Association. I've had that insurance since 2012. I'll answer it that way.
Scott is up next. Scott, what's your question, buddy?
I checked the USCCA website and downloaded a map to see which states I could use my Indiana concealed carry permit in. At one time, we went to Florida, and in Tennessee, I had to have my gun like in the glove box with the ammo taken out of it and set aside. My big question is, we just went to Texas a couple of years ago and took the motorcycle, and I had nowhere to put my gun and ammo separate.
Yeah, and if you don't mind, let me interrupt you. All that has changed. A lot of these states have gone to constitutional carry now, and USCCA is a good reference. But I'd send you back there or download an app just called CCW. It's an app you can load to your phone, and it'll give you all those local state summaries.
Charles is up next. Charles, what's your question?
Hey, how you guys doing?
Good.
I used to have the permit, and I missed or space getting it renewed. And I'd like to kind of get it back so if I go out of state, I can actually carry without being illegal.
Just all you got to do is go to the state police website. It's in.gov/ISP for Indiana State Police. in.gov/ISP. Over to the left, there's a scroll down menu. Hit firearms licensing. Just fill out a new application like you did the first time. Get fingerprinted. Boom, your license will come in the mail.
Les, go ahead, Les.
Yes. Recently, we put my father-in-law into a vet's home in Texas. He gave me 2 handguns and a rifle and didn't think much about it. But when I just brought them back. I'm just kind of thinking now, did I break any kind of laws just bringing these back into Indiana?
Well, you didn't. Arguably, the person who transferred them to you may have, because you're not supposed to transfer a gun to a citizen of another state.
That's all the time we got. Guy, you are a rock star. Thank you so much for all of your calls. Do not go anywhere. We got another hour to go here on the Hammer and Nigel Show.
On a map, the southern border is 1,000 miles away. But that's not how it feels to my family. I grew up in a blue-collar home in Richmond. My dad was a factory worker. He was laid off twice. Not because the factory was doing poorly, but because it was cheaper to move those jobs across the border. I'm Jameson Carrier. Today, it's not what's leaving across the border that's devastating our families. It's what's coming in. And once again, it's personal. My wife and I lost our son Joey to fentanyl, a tragedy that's become far too common. To President Biden, secure the border is just a talking point. But to our family, it's life and death. I'm Jameson Carrier. I'm a business owner, a native Hoosier, and a Trump Republican. And we can't wait another day to secure our border and put Americans first. I'm Jameson Carrier, and I approve this message.
Jameson Carrier for Congress, paid for by Carrier for Congress, Inc.
There are more identity threats than you realize. Even if you monitor your credit, only a little personal info needs to leak out, like your social security number or password.
Or you to become a victim.
LifeLock alerts you to threats you could miss. If your identity is stolen, a dedicated U.S.-based restoration specialist will work to fix it. No one can prevent all identity theft or monitor all transactions, but everyone can save up to 25% off their first year with promo code NEWS. Go to LifeLock.com.
Are you ready for Mother's Day? Macy's Friends and Family is going on right now. It's the perfect time to save on the perfect gift for mom with an extra 30% off designers that rarely go on sale when you use your coupon or Macy's card. And take 15% off makeup, fragrances, and more beauty favorites she'll love. Plus, get your Mother's Day gifts even faster when you pick up in-store or curbside. Today at Macy's. Savings off regular sale and clearance prices. Exclusions apply.
Hello, Indianapolis. This is your City County Councilor, Leroy Robinson. As a former public school teacher, school administrator, and dedicated servant to the Indianapolis Public School Board of Commissioners and the former state director for the Indiana Department of Education, I've committed my entire life to enhancing our community's educational foundation. With that commitment, working alongside RISE Indy, we encourage you to vote this Tuesday, May 7th.
This message sponsored and paid for by RISE Indy.
Dads happen.
There's a whole lot of stuff that can mess up the look of your vehicle. Don't paint your car. Go PDR with Kill a Dent Removal. PDR is paintless dent removal. It saves your factory finish and is way less invasive than traditional body shop repairs. And it's faster too, sometimes same day. Google Kill a Dent Removal and check out the reviews and photos. Then schedule your repair. Hail baseballs, kids, fender benders, shopping carts, flying cows, angry X's, and anything else that leaves dents. Don't paint your car. Go PDR with Kill a Dent Removal.
Coming up in 2 minutes, what state police know about a fatal shooting on the interstate. There was a police shooting in Beech Grove this morning, and IMPD says so far, homicides are down this year compared to the year before. That's all coming up after Fox News Radio from the Technology Recycler Studios. Cloudy skies over the circle. It's about 80 degrees. You're listening to 93 WIBC, WIBC HD1 Indianapolis. It's 5 o'clock.
It's up to the states and schools. I'm Lisa Brady, Fox News. That bottom line from the White House on the response to campus protests after police were called back to Columbia University last night to end the protest occupation of a building and clear a tent encampment.
We cannot disturb campuses in the way of taking over buildings, in the way that we have seen. That is not peacefully protest. It's just not.
White House spokeswoman Karine Jean-Pierre, as new pro-Palestinian protests erupt in New York City, even after hundreds of arrests last night. There are tents inside a building at Fordham University's Manhattan campus where student protesters are getting suspension notices. The Biden campaign focusing on abortion rights as a new 6-week ban takes effect in Florida.
President Biden says former President Trump ripped away the rights and freedom of women in America, and in a social media video responded to comments his predecessor made in a Time magazine interview.
There seems to be no limit to how invasive Trump would let the state be. This should be a decision between a woman and her doctor, and the government should get out of people's lives.
The president has promised to push for legislation restoring protections of Roe v. Wade into federal law.
Fox's Jared Halpern at the White House. Vice President Harris holding a rally today in Jacksonville. The former president set to rally in Michigan after emphasizing his economic message at a rally earlier in Wisconsin.
The choice for Wisconsin is simple. If you want lower costs, higher incomes, and an affordable American dream, then you have no choice but to vote for a gentleman named Donald J. Trump for president.
Hitting the campaign trail on a day off from his criminal trial in New York. Independent candidate Robert F. Kennedy Jr. proposing a no-spoiler pledge to President Biden, a plan calling for the weaker candidate to drop out based on a mid-October 50-state poll. Kennedy arguing based on his campaign's current internal polling that the president is the spoiler. America is listening to Fox News.
93 WIBC Mobile News. On the level, on the go.
Shots on the interstates. Cloudy at 80 degrees in downtown Indianapolis. You've got a clear radar low of 62 tonight. I'm Harrison Silcox. Here's what's trending at 5:02. Shots fired, a man dead, and a car in a pond. That's what State Police Sergeant John Perrine believes happened this afternoon on the south side of Indianapolis on I-65 northbound, not far from County Line Road.
At this point, I think it's more than a coincidence that the road rage happened here at the exact same time that the crash happened here.
He says the man died outside of the car. The car was later pulled out of the pond it wound up in. Matt Baer's going to tell you what it all means for traffic in a few minutes from the WIBC Traffic Center. Beech Grove police responded to a custody dispute early this morning.
They arrived and encountered an adult male. He made statements that he was here to retrieve his kid, his child. The officers were going to have to shoot him.
Deputy Police Chief Tom Hurley says a fight followed and an officer wound up being cut in the face. The man was later shot and killed. 3 officers are on administrative leave as state police handle the investigation. Homicides are down in the Circle City, says Indianapolis Metro Police.
We're at almost a 15% decrease in homicides for the year. And I mean, and that's nice to say, but as I said earlier, like, we're still hoping that this number stays down for the whole year.
IMPD officer Amanda Hibschman. There are still 45 unsolved homicides, according to the monthly homicide report. If you know anything about any of those, the police would appreciate a phone call. The Delphi defense team will not be held in contempt, reports Donnie Burgess.
You probably remember the crime scene evidence leak from suspect Richard Allen's defense team last year. Special Judge Fran Gall ruled Wednesday the state could not prove the attorneys intentionally and willfully leaked evidence beyond a reasonable doubt. A hearing has been set for Tuesday, May 7th, where the defense will argue for a longer trial, and the state will argue that the defense should not be allowed to use certain parts of their case. Jury selection begins May 13th. Donnie Burgess, 93 WIBC Mobile News.
You're 1 minute away from traffic and weather. It's 5:04.
Politicians who tell you what you want to hear and do the exact opposite. Nothing new there, right? Well, this is one for the record books. I'm sure you've seen his ads. See if you can guess who this is. He was an original Never Trumper, on the board of the campaign that opposed Donald Trump from the beginning. Sponsored a bill to restrict guns and gear from police departments. Talk about defund the police. Even voted to pay tuition for illegals with our tax dollars. And gave them driver's licenses too. Oh, and he raised taxes 20 times and doubled state spending. Who is this big budget liberal, you ask? It's Republican Mike Speedy. So don't be fooled by those ads. Know the real record before you vote. Mike Speedy's liberal record.
I'm Jefferson Shreve, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Shreve for Congress.
The traffic on the fives at 5:05. How's it going, Matt Bear?
Harrison, as you reported, we are still stopped on northbound 65 because of this crash, road rage incident, and fatality. Northbound 65 at Stop 11 Road. 2 right lanes are blocked and traffic is stopped back to Worsville Road. Our delay time there is at 37 minutes. If you choose to exit at Worsville Road and avoid that delay, you'll go west to US 31. The northbound 31 is jammed up to Stop 18 Road, and let's go after that. Crash clear south side. Eastbound 465 before I-65. Looking at westbound 70, we do have a crash on the right shoulder before the north split. That's causing stop-and-go traffic back to Emerson Avenue. Still on the east side, crash from the ramp. Eastbound 70 from Shadeland Avenue to eastbound 70. The ramp is open, but it is partially blocked there, cleaning up an overturned semi-trailer. Crash west side, westbound 70 before Harding Street. This has us stopped into the south split and backed up on southbound 65-70 to Fletcher. East side northbound 465 stop and go from 70 up to Allisonville Road. Crash Kessler Boulevard East west of Fall Creek Road. That's a hit and run. Crash Southeastern Avenue at Wildwood Farms, and a crash Shadeland Avenue at Fall Creek Road. Traffic sponsored by Mr. Quick Home Services. Attention Indy homeowners, is your cooling system ready to heat? Don't sweat it. Mr. Quick Home Services has you covered with their special $89 cooling tune-up offer. Matt Bear at WIBC Traffic.
And the forecast from the American Standard Cooling Weather Center.
Looks like we have a cloudy Wednesday evening coming our way, with hopefully those clouds decreasing as we move into the overnight hours into Thursday morning. Low temperature will drop to 61 degrees by Thursday morning. I'm Wish TV Storm Track 8 meteorologist Renner Sudis for 93 WIBC.
I'm Harrison Silcox on the level on the go and on WIBC.com.
Hammer and Nigel.
Can you believe these characters are weirdos?
There's an old expression: play stupid games, win stupid prizes. Or, if you're like Guy Relford, who's filling in for Big Nige today, you might use the acronym FAFO. And if you don't know what that stands for, you can look it up. But it seems like that was on display in Beech Grove.
Yeah, and we can
today.
say fool around and find out, right?
Yes, fool around or something else.
Or something.
There was a situation in my old stomping grounds, Beech Grove, where seemed like there was some sort of child custody dispute at the Willow Glen South Apartments. If you're familiar with the Grove, this is kind of near 9th Street. And authorities were on the scene, and this guy, refusing to cooperate with the police, decides he wants to stab an officer. So he gets the knife out, cuts an officer in the face, and at that point, he was shot dead. Now, I've seen a lot of people on social media saying, oh, he just wanted to see his kid. Oh, this, oh, that. To me, play stupid games, win stupid prizes, FAFO.
Yeah, you bring a knife out, much less actually slash a police officer. I'm sorry, you're going to get shot. pretty much every single time. And as I've often said, I don't celebrate any loss of life, but
see, that's where we differ. I like it when bad guys die.
Well, yeah. Well, I put a lot of time and effort into being really, really good at killing bad guys. I just hope I never have to exercise any of those skills. But here, just to even have a knife in your hand during an explosive confrontation like this, and then actually slice or jab, whatever it is, at the police officer, you're going to get shot, and it's completely justifiable. And I don't know any other specifics about who the officer was or who this person was, but I hope this comes to a quick end, which is it was fully justified and unfortunate, but fully justified.
The officers, there are multiple, have been placed on administrative leave pending an internal and criminal investigation.
Yeah, that's SOP.
Yeah, standard operating procedure anytime there's a police action shooting.
Yep.
Again, the officer that was cut in the face with the knife is going to be okay. He was taken to the hospital. It's going to be all right. But the bad guy here, out here stabbing officers, he will not be stabbing anyone else anytime soon.
And people talk about, he only had a knife. I hear that all the time. Oh, you shouldn't have shot him. He only had a knife. I talk about this in my gun law class that I teach. And that is, I got to tell you, I've seen a lot of ER pictures. I've seen a lot of autopsy pictures. And a knife is a damn scary weapon when you're talking about getting sliced. Right. And you see a lot of these crime scene or ER or autopsy, morgue pictures before an autopsy, and I'm not so sure I wouldn't get shot rather than stabbed, depending on the circumstances. It's a scary weapon and certainly a deadly weapon. And yeah, I classify this squarely under FAFO.
You reach for a weapon of any kind, whether it's a gun, whether it's a knife, whether it's a baseball bat, and you attack and strike an officer, you're going to be shot.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if that's the Beech Grove Police Department, if that's Lawrence, if that's IMPD, Carmel, whoever it is. You go at an officer with a weapon, you're going to be shot.
Yep. And something else jumps out at me in this scenario too, Jason, and that is that, it's a domestic. It's somebody angry, they're very angry over not being able to see their child in a custody dispute. I've talked to a lot of officers in a lot of circumstances over a lot of years, and they hate domestics. I mean, Breanne Leaf, right? I mean, we were just talking about, but so many officers show up to these confrontations that start as domestic violence issues or domestic confrontations, and people are so angry and so worked up they can turn violent very, very quickly, and it's a scary situation for a lot of officers.
Guy Relford filling in for Big Nige today. So per the police department records, the suspect that was arrested for killing a guy in that Indy carjacking was released from jail just 2 hours prior. He had a weekend DUI, spent some time in jail, got out, and then 2 hours later walked across the street, basically, stole a car, and ultimately killed a guy in this carjacking. Now, if that's not enough, this is the amazing part. And it shouldn't be a surprise, but it still is. He has been in and out of Marion County Jail 30 times.
30.
Since 2010. So there's a dead man out there, a dead father, a dead grandfather, because this guy is back out on the streets after being arrested and released 30 different times, Guy. This is the son of the victim speaking to Fox 59.
He was a great dad. He was a great grandpa. He was, there's a lot of people that are going to miss him. For this to happen, it's unfair. You can't keep letting people out like this and expect different results. You can't fix some people. There should have been more stipulations on letting that guy out. He shouldn't have had 30 chances.
I mean, I know I sound like a broken record at this point, and a lot of liberal blue check marks like to come at me on Twitter. You just want everybody locked up for the rest of their lives. No, I want violent threats to society, repeat offenders locked up. 30 times this guy got out, and now somebody doesn't have their father and grandfather.
That's exactly right. And two things jump out here. One is exactly the point you're making. This is more than twice a year over the last 14 years. This guy's been in and out of jail. What's he getting sentenced to? I mean, what is there no jail time involved at all? I mean, that's just shocking to me. The other is about carjacking. Carjacking is one of those scenarios where, and I cover this in a lot of the classes that I teach, is have a plan. If you're driving in your car and somebody, you stop at a stoplight, you're downtown, you're wherever, somebody walks up to the driver's side window and says, "Get out of the car. This is now my car," and threatens you with a weapon. What's your plan? Be prepared, because you know what? No one's coming to save you in that situation. It's going to be, do you survive that situation or do you not? And by the way, a forcible felony justifies the use of force, and that includes a carjacking. Someone threatens you with a weapon. Say this walks up to my car with a tire iron, a knife, a gun. My car, get out of the car, and threatens me with that weapon. That immediately justifies the use of deadly force, because that's a forcible felony, and I can use deadly force to resist a forcible felony.
Is it kind of like castle doctrine at that point if you're in your car and somebody is threatening you with a weapon to take it?
It's a great question, because not only is it like a castle doctrine, it actually is castle doctrine, because Indiana extends our castle doctrine to our dwelling, our curtilage. We could talk for 2 hours on what the hell that means, or our occupied motor vehicle. So if you're in your car, you have the same rights you do as in your home, according to the Indiana Castle Doctrine.
Now, if you're in the gas station or you're in your house on a cold day and your car is warming up outside and you got your keys in it and you see somebody getting into it, that's different.
That's different, because now it's not your occupied motor vehicle, not occupied by you. Therefore, the same rules don't apply. You can't shoot somebody just for stealing your car.
Right.
But if you're in your car, or if your car is otherwise occupied, let's say,
or you got a child in the
that's
car.
What I'm just going to say. My grandkids are in the back seat, and I'm warming my car up, and I forget my coffee or my phone or whatever, which I typically do. I run in, and I'm walking back out, and somebody's trying to get in my car. Can he get shot at that point? Oh, hell yeah, a lot.
But you can't just shoot somebody if you're coming out of the gas station and you see somebody trying to get in your car.
No,
then you can't. But if you're in it, it's different.
If you're in it, it's different. Then it's the Castle Doctrine, and it's a carjacking, which is also a forcible felony. And by the way, the scenario you just described, we just had that. It was at a gas station down on Southeastern. And guy went in, left his car running, went in the gas station, came out. A dude had jumped in his running car and was stealing his car. The guy, it turns out the car was actually already stolen, but let's say take that out of the equation. The guy ran up as the guy's driving off. It points a gun in the window and shoots him because he's stealing the car. The guy doing the shooting is going to prison.
Guy Relford filling in for Big Nige today. 13 years ago, on this date in 2011, President Barack Obama made the announcement that Osama bin Laden had been killed. Although for the SEALs on the ground, it actually happened on May 2nd, local time. But here in the United States, it was still May 1st.
Tonight, I can report to the American people and to the world that the United States has conducted an operation that killed Osama bin Laden, the leader of al-Qaeda, and a terrorist who's responsible for the murder of thousands of innocent men, women, and children.
And Guy, if you read up about that whole operation, there's a number of books out there. The amazing SEAL Team, SEAL Team 6, as they've been known as, they knew where he was at for a while.
Oh, yeah.
They were just waiting for the approval. They were shocked they actually got the approval to go do their job.
Yeah, no, I've read a lot about that, including the actual operation, which was not particularly smooth. Remember, we lost a helicopter. We didn't lose any lives, but we lost a helicopter. But no, I've read a lot about that. And it's just shocking to me. You talk about showing your age. The fact that this was 13 years ago is just shocking to me. It just seems like nothing close to that.
And this is how, these Navy SEALs operate. By the time Barack Obama went to the podium, some of the dudes that were already in that raid were back in the United States already.
That's right.
There was one guy, and I read the book, No Easy Day, going through the Taco Bell drive-thru, and he started hearing it on the radio. So he celebrated by going home, just eating some Taco Bell and watching the coverage on the news. I was watching a baseball game at the time. The Phillies, I think, were playing the Mets or the Braves. I can't remember. It was a Phillies home game. And when news broke during the game, the crowd started to chant USA.
Oh, awesome.
Now the pitch. and it's line foul into the seats down the third base line. 1 ball, 1 strike. And I'll tell you what's going on. The crowd is chanting USA. And the reason for that is that there are reports circulating. I am not sure if they've yet been confirmed by the White House that Osama bin Laden is dead.
That was a Philadelphia Phillies home game that night.
Is that how you learned? Was watching the game when the announcers came on and said it then?
No, I heard about it before.
Okay.
But I was kind of channel surfing around. We kept waiting for Barack Obama to come out, right? They kept delaying it. So I was like, well, I'm waiting. I might as well turn it back over to the baseball game. And seeing that Philly crowd react was cool. Now, the guy that allegedly fired the kill shots on bin Laden, SEAL Robert O'Neill, he talked about those kill shots on a podcast.
Yeah, there's pictures circulating the internet that aren't even close to how brutal it was. You got to figure, I shot him 3 times in the face at close range with a 77 grain hollow point. And that is a devastating round. And yeah, I mean, that's why, it split him from here to here. And that's why I had a whole, we poured water on him and I had to squeeze it together to get a picture. And again, if people would say, well, why'd you do that? It's like, look, when you've obviously never dealt with a suicide bomber, and you've never seen, people have a will to live. And if you shoot them in the chest, it's not like Hollywood where they take a gut shot and die. They will live for a long time. A way to deal with a suicide bomber is you take him in the head, ideally in the mouth.
Robert O'Neill talking about the kill shots on Osama bin Laden 13 years ago today, 2011. All right, Matt Baer, what's up?
All right, crash cleanup on the south side. An investigation continues on northbound 65 at Stop 11 Road. That's about a mile and a half shy of Southport Road. 2 right lanes are blocked, stopping traffic. Back to Worsville Road. Harrison Silcox at 5:30 will have more information from the WIBC newsroom on this road rage fatality incident. Looking at westbound 70, it is a crash before Harding Street, blocking the left shoulder, stopping traffic into the south split. That stops traffic all the way back to the north split. And speaking of, we have a crash westbound 70 before the north split, our second one this afternoon, blocking the right lane, causing stop-and-go traffic back to Emerson Avenue. A rolled semi-trailer on the east side. It's on the ramp from eastbound, as it's on the ramp from Shadeland Avenue to eastbound 70. The ramp is open, but it is partially blocked. Eastbound 465 stops at Westfield Boulevard. Crash at Southeastern Avenue at Wildwood. Crash Kessler Boulevard west of Fall Creek Road. That's reported as a hit and run. Traffic sponsored by Grand Appliance. Shop Grand Appliance for unbeatable prices, fast delivery, and expert installation on a huge selection of in-stock appliances. Learn more at grandappliance.com or your local showroom. I'm Matt Baer. Follow us for instant traffic updates at WIBC Traffic.
Coming up here in about 10 minutes or so, Tony Kennett from the Tony Kennett Cast every Monday through Friday at 7. He'll join us. We'll get his thoughts on these protests happening on college campuses. That's coming up a little bit after 5:30. But up next, a fun round of Are You Okay With This? Right now, we're looking at sunshine and 80 at the American Standard Cooling Weather Center. It's the Hammer and Nigel Show.
Hey, it's Hammer and Nigel, and look, if you're over 60 and you've not filed for Social Security, there's some stats you might want to know about.
Did you know that 96% of Americans forfeit an average of $111,000 in Social Security income?
Wow, and it's because they file for their benefits at the wrong time. Now, you could learn how you could wring every nickel out of the benefits with a free customized Social Security analysis from Bill Demery. He's your retirement guy right here in Indy.
The free analysis makes filing for Social Security as easy as it can be, and it could help ensure you get the last penny out of the benefits that are rightfully yours.
So if you've saved more than $200,000 for retirement and you've not filed for Social Security, call now, 317-648-5120. That's 648-5120. Schedule your free analysis by calling Bill Demery at 648-5120. And tell him Hammer and Nigel sent you.
She isn't working for us, so who is Victoria Spartz working for in Congress? Victoria Spartz said she'd fight the radical left, but spoke in defense of the squad's Ilhan Omar and refused to officially condemn Rashida Tlaib after her hateful, anti-Semitic statements. While there's an invasion on our southern border, Spartz votes to send $40 billion of our tax dollars to Ukraine. Victoria Spartz also says she stands with President Trump. Truth is, Spartz stated it's irrelevant who the president is and helps the Biden administration pass their agenda. Chuck Goodrich is an America First conservative. Chuck built a business that hires and builds American. And Chuck voted to end sanctuary cities. Chuck puts our national defense first by banning any Chinese presence near our military and National Guard bases. Chuck Goodrich fights for our values, voting to protect female sports and keep biological males from competing against young women in Indiana. Vote Chuck Goodrich for Congress. Paid for by Go with Chuck Goodrich.
I'm Chuck Goodrich, a candidate for Congress, and I approve this message.
Hey, fellas, if you're often feeling tired, noticing a lack of motivation and drive, or weight gain and loss of muscle mass, these could all be signs of low testosterone levels. Now, don't wait to find out. At the Low T Center, they make it easy to get your levels checked. It's just a simple blood test, and with their on-site lab, you'll get your results back in about 25 minutes. It's not your typical doctor's office. Low T is a concierge medicine for men, and their physicians specialize in treating low T with customized treatment for each patient.
And the experts at the Low T Center have over a decade of experience helping patients achieve life-changing results. And most health insurance is accepted for treatment. And they've got convenient treatment options that ship directly to your home. Right now, at a Low T Center, it's only $25 to get your T level tested, and you get your results back in 25 minutes. LowTCenter.com. Book that appointment right now. LowTCenter.com. Low T Center, reinventing men's healthcare.
You love spring and Indies, so don't spend it painting. Do what your neighbor Mike did. He called Rhino Shield.
Our home is basically a contemporary, and we just started noticing that the paint was just fading and just looked like garbage. We had received a postcard from Rhino Shield, and we decided to take a look at it.
Rhino Shield's formulated for our specific climate here in Indiana.
The process with Rhino Shield and their crew, they were just very conscientious. We had problems in the past with painters. They leave debris and everything. Well, we didn't have that with Rhino Shield.
Way better than paint, backed by a 25-year warranty. Right now, get the guaranteed protection of Rhino Shield for 15% off the regular price.
The thing about Rhino Shield, the heat gain has been reduced, and we save $70 a month. You don't hear that about any type of paint.
Here's Rhino Shield's Shane Smith.
This offer is limited, so call me at 888-RHINO-41. That's 888-RHINO-41.
Don't paint.
Don't vinyl.
Go Rhino.
Never paint your house again. Rhino Shield.
There are more identity threats than you realize. Even if you monitor your credit, only a little personal info needs to leak out, like your social security number or password,
for you to become a victim.
LifeLock alerts you to threats you could miss. If your identity is stolen, a dedicated U.S.-based restoration specialist will work to fix it. No one can prevent all identity theft or monitor all transactions, but everyone can save up to 25% off their first year with promo code NEWS. Go to lifelock.com.
Building a better future for Hoosiers is going to take an outsider. Brad Chambers is the only candidate for governor who's not a career politician. And only Brad Chambers built a national business from nothing. As Secretary of Commerce, Brad Chambers broke records for job growth all across the state. Jobs with wages higher than ever before. Because of Brad Chambers, higher wages are on the way. And only Brad Chambers can keep them coming.
Paid for by Chambers for Indiana.
Inside Indiana Business Radio, the news you need to get ahead. Indiana's business news leader, weekdays at 6:32 a.m. and 5:56 p.m. on WIBC.
Go where the pros go. Drexel Interiors for Timberlake Kitchen and Bath Cabinets. Visit Drexel's new design center on 146th Street at River Road or on North Shadeland. DrexelIN.com.
Hammer and Nigel here, inviting you to join us as we kick off the weekend every Friday around 5:45 with Beer Sample Friday, brought to you by our friends at Thompson Furniture and Mattress in Columbus.
This hour on WIBC, powered by Sundown Gardens, Hamilton County's spring nursery headquarters.
Are you really okay with this?
Are you okay? Everything's gonna be okay.
Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm fine.
I'm pretty far from okay.
Are you okay with this? On the Hammer and Nigel show.
Oh, yeah!
Guy Relford, are you okay with this? Just weeks before we get into hurricane season, some insurance companies are dropping coverage for people in Florida. Here's an example. Progressive has shed close to 100,000 policies. They've dropped 100,000 policies of people wanting hurricane insurance. Here's a homeowner talking about the issue.
I'm hearing from a lot of people who are in the same boat with getting insurance canceled that their insurance is doubling or more. I think that's really a big problem for a lot of people.
So it's doubling or being dropped, these insurance companies screwing over Floridians. You okay with that?
Yeah, obviously not. I mean, insurance companies are some of the most hated institutions around, and it's because of exactly things like this. Now, a couple of questions. Are they dropping people in the middle of the contract term? In other words, you know, if I think I've got insurance that renews in 11 months, and they're dropping me today, and I have a contract of insurance, those terms are going to be dictated by the actual terms of the agreement itself. And it's frustrating for people. I have people call me, you know, or friends of mine, and they'll say, hey, my insurance company wants to do this, or they want to do that. Can they really do that? I'm going to say, what's your policy say? Right? So when somebody calls me, my landlord's doing this, that, the other thing, can they do that? Well, what's your lease say? So it comes back to the written terms of the insurance agreement itself. But if they're dropping people in the middle of their term after they have an agreement, I have a hard time believing that's consistent with the terms of the policy. And if not, then, hey, it's breach of contract like anything else. Although insurance companies, part of the reason they own all the big buildings around, they're pretty damn smart, and they're not going to do something that the policy doesn't allow them to do. But am I okay with it? Absolutely not.
All right, I think we've got Tony Kennett lined up on the phone. So here's what we're going to do. Tell Tony Kennett to hold on there, Kylan. We're going to check the news with Harrison Silcox, and then when we come back, Tony Kennett will join us. It's the Hammer and Nigel Show.
93 WIBC Mobile News. On the level, on the go.
Our car wound up underwater. Cloudy, 81 degrees on the circle. Your radar's clear. Low temps to the lower 60s tonight. Clouds probably going to stick around. I'm Harrison Silcox. Here's what's trending at 5:30. A road rage shooting is what police believe happened on the south side of Indianapolis this afternoon. State Police Sergeant John Perrine says a man was killed. The car he was driving ended up in a pond not far from County Line Road.
The car just was pulled out of the water within the last few minutes, which hopefully is going to give us some answers to exactly what happened just before this crash and maybe what caused it.
And they believe he died outside of the car, not in the water. If you have any information, give state police a call. The judge still says the Delphi defense team was sloppy, negligent, and incompetent, but she's not going to hold them in contempt. Donnie Burgess reports.
There was a crime scene evidence leak from suspect Richard Allen's legal team last year. One of the men responsible was eventually arrested and charged. Judge Fran Gall said Wednesday prosecutor Nick McClelland could not prove that attorneys Baldwin and Rosie willfully and intentionally leaked that evidence. There's a hearing set for this Tuesday where the defense will argue for a longer trial and the state will argue the defense shouldn't be allowed to use parts of their defense come May 13th. Donnie Burgess, 93 WIBC Mobile News.
The Fed is leaving interest rates alone. Chair Jerome Powell says the central bank is still waiting for more proof that inflation's on its way down.
So far this year, the data have not given us that greater confidence. In particular, and as I noted earlier, readings on inflation have come in above expectations. It is likely that gaining such greater confidence will take longer than previously expected.
Their goal for inflation is 2%. Former President Donald Trump claims inflation's not getting any better in Wisconsin.
These price hikes are continuing to drain nearly $1,000 from the typical Wisconsin family every single month. Chicken, I love chicken, is up 24%.
Trump is campaigning today, a day after the judge in his New York hush money case fined him for more than $9,000 yesterday after he was accused of violating his gag order. The 500 Festival Parade Grand Marshal will be 10-time WNBA All-Star Tamika Catchings. Sasha Nixon reports.
Catchings played for the Indiana Fever during her entire WNBA career, which spanned 16 seasons. Bo Bryant, president and CEO of the 500 Festival, called her a living icon in the world of basketball. The AES Festival Parade starts Saturday, May 25th at noon. Sasha Nixon, 93, WIBC Mobile News.
He's been keeping an eye on the interstate after that road rage shooting this afternoon with traffic at 532. What's going on, Matt Bear?
Yeah, Harrison, as you just reported, northbound 65 is still jammed up from Morseville Road up to Stop 11 Road because of that earlier incident involving the fatality and road rage incident. Right now, 2 right lanes are closed at Stop 11 Road, causing that backup of about 5.5 miles. You can reroute on US 31 by exiting at Morseville Road. US 31 is backed up from Stop 18. Looking at westbound 70, crash clear before the north split. That still has stop-and-go traffic back to Rural Street. Crash coming out of downtown on the west side. It's westbound 70 shy of Harding Street. Left lane is now closed. Traffic is stopped into the south split. This has us backed up all the way to the north split and in turn dragging southbound 65 from the White River into the north split. Crash Southeastern Avenue at Wildwood. Also a crash Kessler Boulevard west of Emerson Way, Fall Creek Road. That's reported as a hit and run. Also a crash Shadeland Avenue at Fall Creek Road. Traffic sponsored by Drexel Interiors. Go where the pros go. Drexel Interiors for Timberlake Kitchen and Bath Cabinets. Visit Drexel's Design Centers at 146th Street and River Road or North Shadeland. Online at drexelin.com. I'm Matt Bear. Follow us for instant traffic updates at WIBC Traffic.
And the forecast from the American Standard Cooling Weather Center.
Looks like we have a cloudy Wednesday evening coming our way, with hopefully those clouds decreasing as we move into the overnight hours into Thursday morning. Low temperature will drop to 61 degrees by Thursday morning. I'm Wish TV Storm Track 8 meteorologist Renner Sudis for 93 WIBC.
I'm Harrison Silcox. On the level, on the go, and on WIBC.com.
You're listening to the Hammer and Nigel Show.
It is the Hammer and Nigel Show. I'm Jason Hammer. Big Nige is out today. Guy Relford, the gun guy, is in. And joining us now on the hotline, the host of the Tony Kennett Cast every Monday through Friday, 7 o'clock here at WIBC. Also, an investigative reporter for the Daily Signal, Tony Kennett with us. Tonus, last night, I was waiting for the Pacers game to start. It is around 9:30, and I start seeing these notifications on my phone that we've got action. We had action at Columbia, and the New York Police Department started storming into Hamilton Hall and doing what should have been done a long time ago. What did you think?
I cannot stress how much I absolutely love this. And by the way, most Americans as well, by the polling data, love this as well. Cops going up, tearing down the Palestine flags that these Marxist revolutionaries had put up, and not just, throwing them on the ground or handing them off to someone, shredding them, because it's disgusting to see another flag flying on a public space higher than the American flag, or in this case, as the Columbia students did, tore down the American flag and threw it on the ground. So that was a great moment to see. And also, I'm quite happy with people getting their FAFO degree. That's just something that I'm a big fan of as an American. You play stupid games, you win stupid prizes. And dear God in heaven, did we see that on these campuses.
What took so long? Why did it get to this point? Now, it's happening all over the country, but Columbia is like ground zero for all of this. Why did it get to this point?
Because all of the major media publications, and I'm talking not just nationally but locally, you're looking at WTHR, 6, 4, et cetera, and also the Indy Star and then the national media and publications. Originally, they were like, oh, these are just peaceful protests. This is just people saying that they don't like Israel's war. This is just, and they gave it kid glove treatment.
Yeah, I've seen that peaceful protest movie before.
And that's what turned it off so quickly. Because as soon as the first video showed up where it's a guy saying, hey, I have a student ID here. Are you going to let me go to the library? And they said no. And they're like, why? And then the guy's like, because you're Jewish. Or maybe it's at the University of Wisconsin-Madison, where they were literally shouting, quote, Hail Hitler, end quote. I mean, those are the kind of things that many Americans are like, maybe the media is kind of lying to me.
Right, because the media, Tony, they're going to tell you those things didn't happen. It's being blown out of proportion. You didn't hear those things.
Well, fool me once, and this is where we're at now. So people aren't buying it, and so the cops this time are not going to let this, turn out of hand. I'm afraid there's not even as much evidence as there was for the George Floyd situation, and this has just been a complete mess. So the cops have rolled through because even moderate Democrats are sickened by the sights that they're seeing on these campuses. And the arrests started rolling out. And what did we find? A bunch of really snotty, very wealthy LGBTQ, I'm not going to lie with you, dude, kind of inbred-looking people that were arrested. I mean, the hair color and the face shapes that are disturbing. By the way, this is why your kids should play outside and get a little sun, folks. You don't want them looking like these weirdos.
And not all of them were college students, Tony.
No, but that's the funny thing, though. So many of them were that it's already torn apart the narrative the left has as, well, these were just paid agitators that have come in to stoke a response by the police, because God forbid that they take responsibility for the very things that they have been calling for over the last several years. And so now they're getting the violence that they asked for, and they're finding out it's deeply, deeply unpopular in the country, and it's going to cost them.
Tony Kennett of the Tony Kennett cast joining us. I think one of the shocking things, I guess I shouldn't be shocked by it, but when you see the staff, the faculty, the teachers arm in arm with these people, blocking other students from trying to go to class. We saw that in Bloomington. I mean, the teachers on the campus of IU, the professors, they're all about trying to fire their university president. Okay, fine. If you want to do that, we can have that discussion. But they were locked arm in arm with these pro-Hamas, anti-Israel nuts. And it just floors me that, people are paying $70,000, $50,000 a year, whatever it is, wherever you go to school, that type of money, and the faculty doesn't want you to attend.
Out of respect for this individual, I'm not going to say his name, but I was talking to a prominent left-wing journalist who lives here in Indiana very recently, and we were talking about this very thing, and that all of these crazy protesters have been encouraging a lot of nasty, horrible chants for ethnic cleansing and a lot of other horrible, gross stuff. And I asked him, I said, so over the last couple of years, when people on the right were saying that universities had been taken over by these Marxist shills that were fomenting all of this far left-leaning stuff that had then pumped students into the institutional fields like education and medicine and law, y'all called us crazy and said that's not happening. What more evidence do you need than all of these professors at these universities, including IU, who are, I guess, showing support for Hamas because they won't condemn it? The only groups they'll condemn are the Jews. And the individual responded to me, again, a left-leaning journalist, that, yeah, you're right. The left-leaning institutions in American society have become a problem. So if that's happening, then my goodness, what are the people that are in the center and on the moderate side of the aisle beginning to think of this absolute cluster? Because it is. This is beyond a mess for the Democrat Party in this election cycle.
What's your response when you hear people say, it was just free speech? That's why we're out here with the students. Us faculty members, we're protecting their right to protest. We're protecting free speech.
So I'm going to point this out, that when Martin Luther King Jr. was holding marches, they didn't break a bunch of windows and not let people pass into public areas and call for ethnic cleansing and things like that. In fact, Martin Luther King Jr. was very specific in making sure that kind of stuff didn't happen, because then it's not a protest, it's a riot. And it's these kind of riots that we saw during the George Floyd protest, which is why I don't blame any police department for stationing officers on the roof and making sure that individuals in an area are protected. And if you call that free speech, you're a moron.
I will say it made my heart flutter just a little bit when I saw the students at North Carolina's campus, Chapel Hill, protecting the American flag from some of these lunatics.
I mean, all you have to do is not look crazy. And on the left, to really fight back against this wave of the right, they just have to make themselves look competent. And they can't, because when you show a group of people, these nutcases with multicolored hair and masks and kippahs and all this other stuff, and they're tearing down the American flag. I mean, the contrast is a group of dudes, just regular dudes from a frat in UNC Chapel Hill, putting up the American flag and looking normal. That is going to resonate 10 times more with the American public than the Looney Tune hour acting like a bunch of toddlers. I hope they throw an amazing, raging party after this because those guys deserve it.
I've seen that online. Like, there's a GoFundMe for this fraternity at North Carolina where they are donating money for these kids that protected the American flag to throw the biggest, most rockin', kick-ass, campus rager, kegger party that Chapel Hill has ever seen.
And I'm one of those donors. I am proud to say you are holding me back from driving out there with as many ribeyes as I can fit in the trunk of my car to go grill up some steaks for those dudes, because that's what they deserve.
I hope they have like the Mitchapalooza party, like in the movie Old School, presented by Speaker City, where Snoop Dogg's on the stage and it's just an unbelievable rager. I hope that's what those kids have, man.
I hope there's a motorcycle that at one point or another goes up or down a staircase. Like that's a prerequisite.
Tony Kennett is with us. He'll be on the air tonight starting at 7 with the Tony Kennett cast. Hey, where are we at with Speaker Johnson? Mike Johnson, he was the appointed one from the House Republicans after McCarthy was removed. They didn't have the votes for Jordan. They didn't have the votes for Steve Scalise. So it ended up being Mike Johnson. And he says, hey, listen, I'm going to make everybody happy here. We're all going to get on the same page. I will not spend any more money for another country unless we get some here in the United States for the border. That did not happen. Some money was given away. And now Marjorie Taylor Greene and some others want to remove Speaker Johnson. Curious as to your thoughts.
So first of all, Marjorie Taylor Greene is an absolute moron. And I am going to make that very clear. Regardless of whether you do or don't like Speaker Johnson, do I have some issues with him? Absolutely. Do I think that he's done everything the way that I've wanted to? Absolutely not. I wish he would have been a better speaker. But also, some of us made this point when McCarthy was ousted, that if you're going to get rid of McCarthy with the slim majority that we have, as not the controlling party, we barely have a majority in the House, and we don't have a majority in the Senate, and we don't have the presidency. So I'm not really sure what everyone is just expecting that some magical speaker is going to do. They're saying, well, Mike Johnson should be out there negotiating. And it's, okay, well, you are the minority. The best you can do is stop bills in the House. And the only thing we have seen in the last 4 years, the only thing that hurts Republicans in the polls is when there is complete gridlock in the House. And people say, well, what's the difference whether it's, Mike Johnson or a Democrat? They're getting everything they want anyway. That's not true. That is a temper tantrum thrown by a child.
So your angle here is, correct me if I'm wrong, doing this makes them look dysfunctional, makes the party look bad. But on the other side, do you understand why some people are going, now, wait a minute, you told us you were going to do this, you didn't, and the fact that your biggest supporter is Hakeem Jeffries on the left, shouldn't that be a red flag?
Well, I would say that it being I agree with the anger at Johnson, 100%. I do. I 100% get it. I do think there's a disconnect that people have no idea what the Speaker of the House's role is for. And number two, I'm going to point out that that Hakeem Jeffries is going to be Speaker if we keep screwing around, that he knows exactly what he's doing in this particular case by, quote unquote, endorsing Johnson. Because he knows that division and disunity in the Republican Party right now is what the Democrats want leading up into the election. We have the biggest chaos going on openly on the left. And Marjorie Taylor Greene is waltzing out in front of the country and distracting everyone from this super left-wing Marxist versus the 90s Labor Democrat fistfight over to another Speaker of the House fight. Why doesn't she run for Speaker of the House if she's so dang fantastic? Let's see it, smart ass. You run.
What's coming up on the big show tonight, Tony?
Tonight, we have a couple of breaking stories that have come out. President Biden's amazing, historic civil rights leader for the DOJ. Well, it turns out she perjured herself to a Senate committee hearing. Mary Margaret Olohan is dropping by to lay all of that out. Very massive bombshell coming out from that.
Check it out tonight, right after our show, 7 o'clock. The Tony Kennett cast. He is Tony Kennett. Tonus, rock on, man. We'll talk soon.
Thanks for having me on, man.
It's the Hammer and Nigel Show.
I'm a moderate Republican.
That's Jefferson Shreve. Listen to Shreve again as he tries to gain favor with the corporate press and leftist voters.
I'm a moderate Republican.
As the far left wages a culture war, Jefferson Shreve has already surrendered. The NRA gives Shreve an F for his anti-gun policies. Shreve is pro-choice, speaking out against Indiana's pro-life laws. Shreve won't even vote for the GOP nominee, President Donald J. Trump, telling the Indy Star, quote, "If Trump becomes the Republican presidential nominee, he would not have Shreve's vote."
I'm a moderate Republican.
We don't need another moderate who will fight against conservatives and President Trump. We need a conservative champion. Mike Speedy is the only candidate who is both endorsed by Indiana Right to Life and is A+ rated by the NRA. Mike Speedy also endorses President Trump and will help him deport illegals. Paid for by Mike Speedy for Congress.
I'm Mike Speedy. I'm running for Congress, and I approve this message.
Bill Frazier is a Hoosier, an American, who has served our citizens with distinction, determination, and a wisdom that comes with years of experience. Now, Bill Frazier is ready to dedicate his life to serving you as your next congressman in Indiana's 6th District. Bill Frazier is a true conservative. He'll fight for a secure border, smaller government, and lower taxes. He will be a tireless advocate for the Second Amendment and the rights of the unborn. Bill Frazier is a veteran paratrooper, a successful farmer and business owner, a licensed commercial jet pilot, a man with experience. When President Ronald Reagan needed expert advice on agricultural issues, he called on a young Hoosier farmer, Bill Frazier. Ronald Reagan trusted Bill Frazier. You can too. Vote for experience and determination. Vote for the true conservative Hoosier. Vote for Bill Frazier for Congress.
I'm Bill Frazier, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Friends of Bill Frazier.
It was awesome. When Window Nation came out to my house, it took them a day to install a bunch of windows. That was it. And they left my house cleaner than what it was before the install. Window Nation's got this semi-annual sale going on right now. 50% off all window styles plus 0% interest for 5 years. And an additional bonus if you schedule an appointment this week. The numbers say it all. They installed over 200,000 windows last year. That's 40 times more than the average window company. And over 20,000 online positive reviews.
And it is on like Donkey Kong right now. The semi-annual sale. 50% off all style of windows, 0% interest for 5 years. And if that's not enough, an additional bonus discount for booking your appointment this week. Time is a factor. Call Window Nation right now. 866-90-NATION. Or go to windownation.com, but tell them Hammer and Nigel sent you.
Pat Sullivan here for Hope Plumbing. If you find yourself racing to finish your shower before the hot water beats you to the checkered flag, then it's time to consider a tankless water heater. During the month of May, my friends at Hope Plumbing are revving up their tankless deals. To celebrate the greatest spectacle in racing, install a tankless water heater, and Hope Plumbing will take off $500. Let's go racing and start saving. Call Hope Plumbing or check their website at hopeplumbing.com for all their May deals.
You've seen Chuck Goodrich's ads. It's time to take the mask off and meet the real Chuck. Get rich. Goodrich allied himself with never-Trumpers and liberals who spent millions to defeat President Trump. And it turns out that Chuck Goodrich lobbied to give amnesty to millions of illegal immigrants. Goodrich even bragged about his award as a top 100 woke CEO who hires employees based on race. In the legislature, Goodrich voted to bring critical race theory into our classrooms and to teach our children that America is a racist country. What did crooked Chuck get in return for siding with the liberals? Millions of earmarks. And a law that could put 40 million of our tax dollars into his business. Chuck Goodrich is just another corrupt and liberal sellout. He can't be trusted.
I am Victoria Sparks, candidate for Congress, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Victoria Sparks for Congress.
Shop Grand Appliance for unbeatable prices, fast delivery, and expert installation on a huge selection of in-stock appliances. Learn more at grandappliance.com or your local showroom.
It's Hammer and Nigel here. Are you over the age of 60? And have you not yet filed for Social Security? Because, let's be honest, 96% of Americans forfeit an average of $111,000 in Social Security income, Nigel.
Wow, it's because they file for their benefits at the wrong time. And you could learn how you could wring every nickel out of the benefits with a free customized Social Security analysis from Bill Demery. He's your retirement guy. He's my retirement guy right here in Indy.
So if you've saved more than $200,000 for retirement, but you've not yet filed for Social Security, schedule that free analysis right now by calling 317-648-5120.
The free analysis makes filing for Social Security a cinch, and it could help ensure that you squeeze every nickel out of your benefits that's rightfully yours. Schedule that analysis now, 317-648-5120.
Mother's Day is almost here. Miss M's Home and Garden is fully stocked with high-quality annuals, trees, shrubs, decor, and more. State Road 135 in Bargersville.
Matt Baer, what's going on?
Hammer, I'm looking at the south side and northbound 65 at Stop 11 Road. We had an earlier road rage shooting and fatality, and all lanes are now open. They just reopened, but traffic is still stop and go almost to Worsville Road, but the front of the line is starting to move again. Looking at westbound 70 before Harding Street, crash clear on the west side. Still stop and go traffic back into the south split that jammed us up into the north split and onto westbound 70 back to rural. This also stopped southbound 65 from MLK to the north split, but it's moving in parts, and hopefully with this crash clearing we'll be out of there before too long. Shadeland Avenue to eastbound 70 east side, rolled semi-trailer. Cleanup continues, and that ramp is open, but it is partially blocked. Eastbound to 465 on the north side, that's stop and go traffic from Westfield Boulevard over to Allisonville Road. This is a crash downtown Illinois North. Crash east side, Shadeland and Fall Creek Road. Crash on the west side, Raceway Road at West 10th. And a crash on the south side, US 31 south of Thompson. Traffic sponsored by Drexel Interiors. Go where the pros go. Drexel Interiors for Timberlake Kitchen and Bath Cabinets. Visit Drexel's Design Centers at 146th Street and River Road on North Shadeland. Online at drexelin.com. I'm Matt Baer. Follow us for instant traffic updates at WIBC Traffic.
80 at the American Standard Cooling Weather Center. Went a little long with Tony Kennett right there, so we got to call a quick timeout. We got another hour to go. Hammer and Nigel show. Coming right back. Stick around.
Guys, let's talk game. Practice just wrapped up with the annual spring game. Your team looks promising this fall, but how's your game? Testosterone therapy can help you get back to your best, and spring is the time to start. We recommend Low T Center.
They make it quick and easy. Walk in, take a simple blood test, and get your results back in about 25 minutes. If you feel tired, if you've seen weight gain, loss of muscle mass, could be low T. And lowtcenter.com is the place where you book your appointment. Low T Center, reinventing men's healthcare.
Hey, it's Big Joe for Absolute Comfort, your trusted independent American Standard Air dealer. Owner Chris Wettikin sells the ductless Mitsubishi Electric Mini Split, which is a clean and extremely energy-efficient way to heat and cool a specific area.
These systems don't run the air through the ductwork, which is where a lot of your dust and allergies and other displeasing smells come from. And maybe best of all, you're not circulating viruses throughout the home.
Find out more at AbsoluteComfort.org. Absolute Comfort is your trusted independent American Standard Air Mitsubishi Electric Elite Ductless Pro dealer.
Life insurance. Why are you putting it off? Can't afford it? Too much hassle? Think you don't need it? There's lots of excuses for putting off life insurance. But if you weren't there, who would pay the mortgage and other bills? With Ethos, you could be covered in 10 minutes and boom, family protected. Ethos, fast and easy online term life insurance. Up to $2 million in coverage with no medical exam. Some policies as low as $1 a day. Answer a few health questions and get your free quote at getethos.com. That's getethos.com.
Hello, Indianapolis. This is your City County Councilor, Leroy Robinson. As a former public school teacher, school administrator, and dedicated servant to the Indianapolis Public School Board of Commissioners and the former state director for the Indiana Department of Education, I've committed my entire life to enhancing our community's educational foundation. With that commitment, working alongside Rise Indy, we encourage you to vote this Tuesday, May 7th.
This message sponsored and paid for by Rise Indy.
LD Smith Plumbing.
A dirty, stinking honest.
When plumbing problems arise, you need them fixed fast and right. The LD Smith Plumbing crew knows how to put water in its place. We do it all, from the kitchen sink to delicate repairs in historic homes, and we'll always give you honest advice at a fair price. So if you're worried about the cost of plumbing repairs, call today for a free second opinion on a competitor's estimate.
LD Smith Plumbing.
A dirty, stinking honest.
This is Inside Indiana Business Radio. I'm Kate Sharon. The Adams County Economic Development Corporation is launching a program designed not only to expand housing throughout the county, but also provide financial assistance to home buyers. Executive Director Colton Bickle says the Hoosier Homes Initiative is targeted at both first-time home buyers and current homeowners looking to find a new home.
And what it can do is it will offer up to 5% down payment assistance for you. And so it's just a way to help essentially that barrier to entry of purchasing either your first home or buying a new home, helps lower that barrier to entry by providing down payment assistance.
Bickle said a recent market analysis shows the county could add and fill between 70 and 90 new housing units each year, and that could be a mix of single-family homes and multifamily units. The Chandler Motor Speedway property in southwest Indiana has once again been sold at auction. Our partners at WEHT-TV report the 131-acre property was sold for $490,000, though the future of the property remains a mystery. The property includes a 1/8 mile drag strip and an oval dirt track. However, the track has been closed for several years due to ongoing financial struggles. From the #1 source for Indiana business news, this is Inside Indiana Business Radio.
The Talent Resource Navigator is a free online tool that offers the convenience of one-stop shopping for education and job training opportunities. It's supported by on-demand customer service and technical assistance. The Navigator intentionally guides and connects individuals and employers with a tailored set of talent development resources based on each user's identified needs. Get started today at talentresourcenavigator.com.
An Evansville-based startup that has developed an aeroponic smart garden appliance is the winner of this year's Hunger Tech Innovation Challenge from Agronovus, Indiana. Anu, formerly known as GrowPod, took home the $25,000 prize, which was awarded at last week's Tech Point Mirror Awards Gala in Indianapolis. Agronovus Indiana CEO Mitch Frazier is this week's guest on the Business and Beyond podcast with Gary Dick, presented by PNC, a weekly conversation with high-profile Hoosiers in business, sports, entertainment, and beyond. Available now from your favorite podcast provider. I'm Kate Sharon for 93.1 WIBC.
Your local news coming up after Fox News Radio from the Technology Recycler Studios. You're listening to 93 WIBC, WIBC HD1 Indianapolis.
Hence, inside a building with police in riot gear standing by.
The university here at Fordham has already handed out letters of suspension to the kids who set up Gaza Solidarity encampment inside. They said they got the idea from Columbia, where this all started. We've been there for days. Divest from Israel is written here. Faculty for Palestine is written. And they've been kind of banging back and forth on the glass to try and communicate with those protesters who once again are being told if they don't get out of here, then the police could possibly move in.
Fox's Alexis McAdams at Fordham's Manhattan campus. Demonstrators are back at Columbia University after police broke up a protest last night that paralyzed the campus. UCLA has canceled classes today after violence erupted on campus earlier today. White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre calling out campus anti-Semitism.
Hate speech should not be allowed. We should condemn that. That's what this administration has always been consistent about and clear about, and we're going to continue to do that.
This is a bipartisan group of lawmakers in the House has passed a bill condemning anti-Semitism. As Florida's 6-week abortion ban goes into effect, House Democratic leader Hakeem Jeffries says his party will continue to fight for women's reproductive rights.
Freedom is under assault. House Democrats are defending it. Extreme MAGA Republicans are determined to undermine it.
The ban does have an exception for saving the life of the mother, as well as in cases involving rape and incest. At an event in Jacksonville this afternoon, Vice President Harris blamed former President Trump for abortion bans going into effect in more than 20 states. Wall Street stocks finished mixed after the Fed left its key interest rate unchanged. The Dow gained 87, the Nasdaq off 52. America is listening to Fox News.
93 WIBC Mobile News. On the level, on the go.
They blame road rage. Mostly sunny and 81 degrees downtown. Nothing to be worried about on your radar. Clouds won't go anywhere tonight as temperatures drop into the lower 60s. I'm Harrison Silcox. Here's what's trending at 6:02. Shots fired, a man dead, and a car submerged in a pond. John Heverick reports on what happened on the south side of Indianapolis this afternoon.
Just after 1 o'clock on I-65 northbound, not far from County Line Road. That's where state police say someone shot a man and he died. Plus, his car ended up in a nearby pond. This witness tried to get through the area when it happened.
There was about 20 or 30 state troopers. I've never seen more state troopers on one scene before.
And State Police Sergeant John Perrine says,
we did find an unresponsive adult male lying in the grass outside of the pond. Within minutes, we had ISP divers here who happened to be in the area.
They got the car out, and there was no one else inside. Now they're searching for suspects. John Herrick, 93, WIBC Mobile News.
The latest Indianapolis homicide report shows a 15% drop from this time last year. Indy Metro Police would like to keep those numbers down.
As the weather warms up, we want to remind people and the citizens of Indianapolis to step away from tense situations. Practice de-escalation and conflict resolution skills. Violence is not the answer.
Officer Amanda Hibschman, 25 cases have been cleared. Another 45 are still unsolved, says IMPD. The Delphi defense team will not be held in contempt. Tony Burgess reports.
You probably remember the crime scene evidence leak from suspect Richard Allen's defense team last year. Special Judge Fran Gull ruled Wednesday the state could not prove the attorneys intentionally and willfully leaked evidence beyond a reasonable doubt. A hearing has been set for Tuesday, May 7th, where the defense will argue for a longer trial, and the state will argue that the defense should not be allowed to use certain parts of their case. Jury selection begins May 13th. Donnie Burgess, 93, WIBC Mobile News.
Boys volleyball and girls wrestling now fully sanctioned by the IHSAA. Commissioner Paul Neidig says it's all because of the growth of the sports.
This past year, we had over 1,400 girls representing 177 different high schools wrestling in this state.
Neidig also says there are more than 100 boys volleyball teams in Indiana. Volleyball is going to be a spring sport, girls wrestling in the winter. Traffic and weather in 60 seconds at 6:04.
Sinus pressure, congestion, snoring, being unable to sleep, being unable to breathe. Yep, it's another sinus infection. You've Googled, watched videos, tried over-the-counter sprays, medications, and home remedies, but nothing ever works. There must be some kind of treatment that can help, right? Indianapolis Sinus Center understands how draining it can be when you try treatment after treatment without any relief. That's why they've been serving and treating the community for over 50 years. Indianapolis Sinus Center has performed thousands of procedures and helped thousands of patients find lasting relief they didn't know was possible. Patients like you. If you've had enough of sinus pain, pressure, and congestion, schedule a visit with Indianapolis Sinus Center today. Call 317-528-9650 and take the first step toward breathing easy. 317-528-9650. That's 317-528-9650 or visit IndianapolisSinusCenter.com.
With traffic in the fives at 6:05, here's Matt Baer.
Harrison, as you were reporting, northbound 65 with that incident involving road rage and the fatal crash. Northbound 65, all lanes have reopened to stop 11 road, and traffic has now cleared out, so you are good to go on northbound 65. Please watch for emergency personnel that still might be investigating. On the north side, eastbound 465 at a stop from Westfield Boulevard to Allisonville Road, and westbound 465 stop and go. I-69 over to the White River. Crash cleanup continues on the entrance ramp from Shadeland Avenue to eastbound 70. It's a rolled semi-trailer. The ramp is open, but it is partially